What's up, Chaz? You're the first to join the live. Salutes to yourself. We're going to keep cooking, man, because even though the algorithm is on, man, right? We got to keep cooking them because we're definitely making a breach in the firewall of the algorithm. Peace, man, Chaz. So, yeah, we cracking straight back on with part 4 of the introduction to Great Tartary. I'm having fun out of this book. I hope you guys are having fun in the same way I'm having fun out of this book, right? I had to take yesterday off because I needed a break. It's good to take breaks from this social media stuff. So yesterday was my break where I'm like, nah, I'm not doing anything. That was me yesterday. And then today I wasn't going to go live again, but I get so much good messages from you guys because I showed how they're just censoring all my stuff. Anything I post, they're putting inappropriate for suggestion, so they won't put it in the FYP. And this is deliberate. Like I said to you guys, anytime we start hitting over the 100,000 likes and we start getting traction, the devil, which is the algorithm, starts to panic. Yeah, oh, this Jadefre is getting range, he's getting reach, he's growing. Because you know, who the Most High bless, no man or algorithm robot can curse, right? So shout out to Asha for her telling me, look man, you're making a breach in the wall, these lives are helping. Shout out to all of you who come in my DMs and make me see why it's necessary for me to go live. Whether they're going to be against me or not, whether they're going to try and wipe my page or not, that's obsolete, yeah? We got to keep cracking them. We got to keep on kneeing their neck and keep making this breach in the firewall of false history and this false narrative that they're giving us. And if they wipe my page, we just shift the thing over to YouTube. So, like I've said many times before, you might have seen now as well, I've uploaded about 5 lives from here onto the YouTube. I do it off my big phone because it's got a big memory. So it takes me an hour to download it off TikTok, and then it takes over another hour to upload it onto the YouTube. But I just do it when I go to, I don't like sleep. When I lay down to rest, right, I do it then. So it can just take its time. By the time I rise up in the rising now, it should be a new live every day from the ones we've done, yeah, on the YouTube page. So go on the YouTube page at Memnon9, because look, we're at war, and you see how they're having me on this TikTok thing. Some of these lives, there's no flashes or nothing, but then if I post a clip, they shadow ban the clip. And so I should have known that, yo, that clip that they shadow banned when I was talking about the deep fakes and all of that, I should have known if I put it on my story, they're going to slash it down because they've already censored it, meaning you'll see only like 45 views on the thing, where every other video's got like 300 and odd views, 600 and odd views. The ones that are shadow banned, you'll see they only have like 30 views or 20 views. That means they've shadow banned it. And then later on, when you go on your profile page, you'll see it says inappropriate for feed. They've got about 4 of them, and it don't even make no sense. Even the Spartan one, which is just a Spartan clip about the Spartans, I think because it said in there boy lovers about the Athenians, they used that to censor it. But shout out to all of you who are still going on there, like them shadow ban videos, and still liking it and still commenting on it. As I said, who the Most High bless, the algorithm can't curse. They can't stop us with what we're doing. Sometimes we give them too much power, right? And a lot of time it's like, oh, I don't want to lose my page. I don't care if I lose this page. I care about doing a good job in the job that I'm doing. So we're jumping straight back in to Tartaria, the introduction to Great Tartary, from this fantastic book from Shudwini Noventa, right? You can go and check his work at tartariaempire.com. You can download Tartarian maps and all kind of stuff. So it would be a good idea to go and just have a look. You may see something that you want to download, and even just looking, that's us supporting him and the work that he's put in to wake the masses up to this stuff, right? Now, as I said, we've learnt quite a few things in the first 3 parts about Tartaria. Some of the things are that we've learned, especially when I went to my book, reading off my laptop, talking about the Crystal Palaces and the Incubator babies and Cabbage Patch and all of that. I even get feedback off YouTube now, because YouTube now you can message people and stuff. So I get these little messages on YouTube from people I've never spoke to, but it's making a difference. Do you understand what I'm saying? And shout out to everybody who's helped me to reach the milestone of going over 600. I think 608 or 609 or something. because before we just stuck at 570 something, and true, I wasn't using the page a lot, it just wasn't growing, you understand? So yeah, every day you should be able to find lives, new lives uploaded on the YouTube, right, where you can go and watch the full live back for yourself, right? And that's a good thing for us, because we can't do that on TikTok. We can only take clips and edit clips like 2.5 minutes, 2 minutes 30 seconds. That's a big clip. The normal clips are just like 1 minute 30 seconds, 45 seconds. So the fact that we can now upload them on YouTube, because we needed a place where we could save these lives that we're doing are groundbreaking lives. They're epic. They're not supposed to be something that, you know, if you don't see it on TikTok, you've just missed it. Yeah, and then once, because remember, TikTok rubbed them off after a month. After a month, the lives go. So let's say there's 20 lives. A month, the ones at the bottom will get rubbed off. And then the new lives, you understand what I'm saying? But we can't afford to lose none of these lives, man, because they're groundbreaking lives. So like I said, YouTube, yeah, at Memnon9, you'll see it come up, Mafioso, you'll see the TZT crest come up one time, so you know, okay, bam, this is the page where I need to be on. I do have some things to change on there, like I uploaded them 3 lives, the Sacred Records at Atom Ray, from the other camera, where the camera's from the side. I don't like how it looks, it just looks daft. So I'm gonna remove them, so don't even bother watching them, because we got the lives here, where I'm facing the camera, and at some point I'll upload them all to the YouTube. We will get back to that also to finish it off, the Sacred Records at Atom Ray. But I think this subject here, we need to go deeper and finish it. I'm not bored of this subject yet, this Tartary stuff. My mouth is still watering. I want to know more. I'm sure you guys want to know more, yeah? So let me just shout out some of the family. I already shouted out Chaz, who was the first one here, yeah? She's on the money, yeah? Y'all say hi to Chaz, Natasha, Chaz, Natasha, Natalie, all that. Yo, y'all greet each other, yeah? Because to me, these are Jedefre's angels. You know, like Charlie's angels? These are the ones that show up and put value to what I'm doing. Value doesn't mean you have to be buying books. Value can be just you tapping the screen, or you sharing the screen, or you turning up and prioritizing these lives and stuff. Because I know right now time is money. So I appreciate all of you who choose to give me your time and come to these lives here, especially those of you who come with an intent to learn, with a pen and a notepad, and you're taking away points, and you can go in the background and do your own research. You might come in my DM and discuss with me a certain few things. I love that, yeah? I'm more for that. So we're going to jump straight back into this Tartary live. Yeah, so shout out to Chaz, shout out to Natasha. Let me see who else is here. Yeah, guys, hold the screen down. You can hold my nose down if you want, if it makes you laugh. It's not going to charge you, yeah? But you'll see your inbox come up. As I always say to you guys, share this live with 5 to 10 people in your inbox. Let's get it in the FYP, yeah? Let's get this conversation to the people who will benefit from it other than yourselves. There's other people who, if they come to this conversation, they'll be like, yo, this is what I need. And they'll stay here and they'll learn from us, you understand? Or learn with us, let's put it that way. Because remember, this is more like an investigation. It's not like me. It's not like when I'm talking about Anunnakis, or I'm talking about the Bible and that kind of stuff, which I do consider myself a scholar in that field. When it comes to Tartary, I'm a student, right? Even though I'm writing a book, I'm writing it more like an investigative look at this enigma that we're calling Tartaria. So when I'm presenting this live to you guys, it's the same thing. We are in, you are with me, and we're having an investigation. We're not only looking at everything that says Tartaria was real, we're also looking at the doubters, other scholars who say, well, they don't really believe in Tartaria. So we can have a balanced view to weigh up this thing for ourselves. Is it just people going off on a conspiracy thing, or is it really a fact that, hold on, they omitted this part of history? You know what I'm saying? And at the moment, it looks like we're leaning towards, yo, this was a real thing. This is too consistent. There's too many coincidences, and you know we don't believe in coincidences now, do we, mafioso? Yeah, everything is for a reason. And there's too much coincidences. There's too much consistency with what we're seeing, right, in our observable reality, which makes us shift more towards, yo, this was real. It weren't just no conspiracy theory, right? If you've never heard of Tartaria, stick around. This is the place you need to be at, yeah? I need you guys to be tapping the screen. I need you guys to be sharing the live, as always. More time when I'm cooking, I don't even have to ask you guys. You guys just do, yeah, because the thing's hitting with you guys. So I'm not going to sit here and tell you do this or tap this or tap this. You guys know the thing set already, right? So let's just jump straight back in. Let me bust a affirmation with you guys before we go in today, which I usually do. Sometimes you won't hear me do it, but I always do it inside my head. So let me do it out loud for you guys. I'm going to say Park along. I'm going to say, I'm just going to do it in the English for you guys, yeah? I am in the love of the all, and all love is in me. I am a part of the all, and all is a part of me. I am one with the all, and all is one with me. I can succeed as a part of the all, and fail as an individual. I can be all that I wish in all, as long as my wish is to remain in all. I am never alone. All is, I am. All can, I can. All does, I do. An anthem for all. That's the affirmation. So let's jump straight back here. Hold on. I'm not finished here. Pablo. Shout out to Pablo Art Malik. Yeah, y'all go and check out Pablo Art Malik's art. He does some fantastic art. You can even purchase some art for your house from the brother. Yeah. So I would like you guys, you can see him here in the comments saying stay winning kin, love knowledge and gems. Go and check out his page and fill up his page, man. I hate to come on TikTok and see brothers and sisters doing great work and they don't have no backing behind them. I'm the kind of person, I want to share my crowd with them. So if y'all guys love me, just know that I love his work. Go and check his work out. Do you understand what I'm saying? Shout out to Pablo. Someone says, have you ever used Red Note? I haven't, you know. What is that? I don't even know what that is. Hold on. Natasha says, love the hoodie, yeah? You know the sun is kind of cooled down today. I'm so glad. I sound like a Tamahu, right? I'm glad because I can't wear, most of my tops are like this. You know, I have a lot of hood tops and stuff. In the last 2 months, I can't wear none of them. I can't wear them in Antigua, it's too hot. Come back England, England's hotter than Antigua. I can't wear none of my stuff, you understand? So yeah, I love this, it's a whole suit, the pants, everything, yeah? So man fi move, you understand what I'm saying? Shout out Natasha. Yeah, you see, I love to see that. You see, Natasha says, yo, Chaz, big up. Unu for big up in each other. Unu for see each other as family. Because look, blood is not thicker than water no more. Right now, family is a spiritual thing. You can have family that don't connect with you at all, right? And you can have family that connect with you beyond blood. It's a spiritual thing. That's what I call relatives, yeah? Because real family will relate with each other. So I use the word relative. Family is just blood. They don't necessarily have to connect with you, right? But a relative will connect with you and relatives relate, right? So right now, yeah, you should see each other as one spiritual family. We're one soul consciousness group. We're looking at the same topics. We're dealing with the same type of challenges. We have the same type of world view or similar type of world view, right? So this is your family right here. If you constantly come to the mafioso, and if your family has disowned you, this is your new family. Welcome to the family, guys. Who else? Let me take these glasses off. I can't even see what's on the screen, man. Peace to Regina Johnson, right? Peace to 74 Trapstar. Shout out to Steve Morrison. Yeah, let's get cooking. I'm at the bottom now, yeah? Let's jump straight back in to Tartary. You know how we roll. And I'm not going to go into my laptop or none of that stuff today. I'm just going to read from here so we can get a substantial chunk of this great work. What's his name again? Shudwini Noventa has did for us, right? And this book came out, by the way, in 2025. So this is a brand new look at Tartary. It's not like some book from 8-9 years ago or none of that. This is fresh, right? And the last place we left off was talking about the world fairs and how Chicago used to look and stuff, and how they've licked down everything and made everything look the same across the world, just like in the Tartarian Empire, how the architecture was the same cross continents. When they mash down Tartaria now and give us this modern world, this dull modern world looks all the same across continents, yeah? So Chicago don't look like this no more. That area still exists. There's no statue there. None of them intricate buildings are left. They tear them all down. And it's just basically an open space that they've left for us in the modern world, right? But that's how Chicago used to look around the time of the Chicago World Fair, right? So let's jump in. Yo, guys, if you got children that will benefit from this stuff, ask them to come and sit in on these classes. I'll do my best to swear less. I know sometimes swears jump out my mouth and stuff, and it's not good for the young ones, right? So I'll do my best to keep any type of that type of language down. When you buy my books, none of that type of language is in the books. It's all professional, modern English, yeah? More time, it's just a passion. I'm passionate about what I'm speaking about. So sometimes Caribbean people will do that. It will just slip out, you understand? But it's not an excuse. So I do apologize if you've brought children to the live and them things have slipped out and stuff. Explain to them it's just me being passionate about the subject. It's not me trying to disrespect anybody or insult anybody, but at the same time I'm not going to make excuses, and I'll try and keep it to the bare minimum. All right? Okay, so where was we? Yeah, let me just start from where I was. It says here, remember we were speaking about how they were bringing indigenous people, melanated people, and also presenting them at these world fairs. They was forcing them to just like, they might make a mock village of Africa or a mock village of some Native Americans and force the people to just act like they're really in the village and just doing what they normally do. And then these spectators will come and just, ooh, oh, oh, and watch them. So they had us in a circus thing too. And here it says, when we was talking about these indigenous melanated people that they were exhibiting in these exhibits, it says here, could these people have been the remnants of Tartaria? These same melanated people actually could be the remnants of Tartaria, as we've exposed a lot of these old pictures that they show us with Tartaria, and they show us them the people around these buildings. The people in the buildings don't match. The people are in horse and buggy, yeah, and the buildings look like they were built now with technology that we have now. It doesn't look like some people riding a donkey and a cart could have ever built the type of buildings that we're talking about, right? So now, bloodlines. Is it possible that these cultures, marginalized and displayed as relics, were in fact survivors or inheritors of the lost Tartarian Empire, right? Native Americans in America, that was Tartaria. Don't let them twist you up, yeah? A lot of them pictures they showed us with the people with the donkeys and buggies, those were photoshopped in. Whatever program they used, some alien type of Photoshop, which was around in the 1800s, I've already exposed, because I've got pictures where it's zoomed in and you can see people's foot's not even on the ground. If a man, imagine I'm sitting on this chair and my bum's not on the seat. When you zoom in, it's like I'm hovering over the seat. That's exposing that, okay, these people are Photoshopped. They've been added in, yeah? Most of the pictures they're showing us with the people with horse and buggy in them, yeah, they're empty cities. They met them cities empty, meaning when they went wherever they went, they carried a certain type of body germs and stuff with them, yeah, that spread stuff like smallpox and stuff. Do you understand what I'm saying? Certain plagues and viruses just wipe people out. So it's not a case of, oh, how did they come and take us off our seat? How did they come and kick our ass? They never kicked our ass. The viruses did. The stuff they were carrying kicked our asses, which means it wiped out the population and left empty cities that they could just walk into and inherit, and then just perform what's called a transfer of the wealth. They transferred all the wealth, all the buildings, everything. They kept what they want and got rid of whatever they couldn't fit into their narrative. Okay, so yeah, could it be that us, man, the melanated that they put on display in these world fairs, because it wasn't just incubator babies and stuff, they put us on display in these world fairs, man. Could it be that we were the real Tartarians, right? And they're keeping us from that knowledge, telling us that we all came from Africa, running around the savannah with leopard skin loincloth. You understand what I'm saying, right? So when I say we're the survivors or inheritors of the lost Tartarian Empire, I'm talking about the sacred knowledge, their spiritual systems, their understanding of earth energy, the architecture and healing, right? So we may have been studied, copied, or covertly harvested by the elite attendees of the fairs, and maybe all three of them. All three is true at once, yeah? We were studied, we were copied, and we were covertly harvested, right, at these world fairs. Now, a global auction of culture and knowledge. Imagine the World Fair not as a celebration, but as a massive showroom. Every building, every pavilion, right? Every cultural group, every artifact, a catalogue of Tartarian remnants. That's what they were showing at these World Fairs, right? Ancient architectural techniques demonstrated, studied, then erased, yeah? Knowledge of free energy, somatics, yeah? Copper, healing. See me wearing copper all the time, like this copper bracelet. Copper, right? Copper healing and star alignments, like with the star force that we briefly touched upon, yeah? Carefully noted and repackaged. Indigenous wisdom rebranded as folklore and pseudoscience. The original inhabitants of these lands displaced and their heritage absorbed into imperial museums and Masonic archives, right? The fairs, in this view, were not gatherings of equal nations. They were ritualistic partitions, right? Where the spoils of the old world were divided among the architects of the new one. So these elite bloodlines, whether from Britain, Europe, France, they're dividing all of this stuff they've unearthed between themselves, right? Final thought, a gathering of witnesses or a final farewell. The global invitations may not have been about inclusion, but documentation. By bringing together every race, culture, and tradition into a single location, the organizers could record, dissect, and decide what survived into the rewritten history, this new narrative that we've got of official history, and what will be forgotten. So they're deciding, yo, what we're going to keep and put into our new narrative and give it some false background, or, yo, we can't put this in the new history, it just don't fit in the new narrative, get rid of it, right? Was this the final unveiling of Tartaria before the curtain fell, these world fairs, yeah? Was it a celebration of progress? Was it a celebration of progressor, a funeral procession for an ancient world? So these world fairs, you can see it as the funeral of Tartaria, right? That's the question we must now begin to ask. Right, I mentioned this earlier on part 2 or part 3 or something, yeah? The colliding train spectacles, yeah? Listen to this, yeah? A symbol of the reset. Among the many strange spectacles, because there were many in these world fairs, featured in the world fairs and surrounding events, few were as disturbingly theatrical as the staged train collisions. They were crashing trains together at high speed, right? What's that about? We're going to find out. These were not isolated stunts, but recurring events across America in the late 1800s and early 1900s time, around or near major expositions, which is another word for the world fairs, right? The most infamous example was the crash at Crush in Texas, 1896, where thousands gathered to witness 2 full-size steam locomotives collide at full speed. The result? A massive explosion, yeah? Scalding steam and flying debris unalived several people. You understand that? Scalding steam and flying debris unalived several people and injured many more, right? So people are losing their lives and getting injured watching these stage spectacles, crashing trains together and stuff, right? And yet the event was marketed and promoted by major railroad companies as entertainment, a live demonstration of destruction for the public's amusement. Do you believe that? Or do you believe these trains were Tartarian trains, high technology, and they had to get rid of them? So they made this spectacle. Oh, do you guys want to see trains crash into each other? And start crashing trains into right? So, but was it just entertainment, or was it something deeper and more symbolic at play? Was something deeper and more symbolic at play? The machinery of the old world crashes into the new. In hindsight, these destructive displays seem almost ritualistic in nature. 2 unstoppable forces barreling towards each other, yeah? An ancient metaphor used in countless myths and religions to symbolize transition, yeah? Chaos and rebirth, right? So you can see some of these trains here, right? That is apparently these trains were way more reliable than the trains we have now. The technology that they was carrying and stuff, who knows the kind of energy that was moving these trains and stuff. It may not even have been steam. The steam may just be a smoke screen for you to think, oh, it's steam engines and stuff. Yeah. In the context of Tartaria, these train crashes may have represented something far more profound. The destruction of progress that existed before the reset, right? Remember, they were digging up train tracks from the mud, buried under layers of mud, meaning that train tracks were already here before the Industrial Revolution when they told us. Most of these train tracks that they find all over the place, they didn't make none of them. Yeah, they dug them up from underneath the mud. So now they need to get rid of the evidence. Hence, they're crashing trains together and stuff, right? The violent severing of the old world from the new industrial paradigm. The ritualistic burning of what remained of Tartarian technology and harmony. Steam engines, massive symbols of the industrial age, were turned into sacrificial machines, and the public cheered, yeah, even though debris licked one of them or two of them. And could it have been a mock funeral for the old world? So here you can see them trying to collide trains together again. You see how much people is there, like this is some type of boxing match or some type of entertainment. This is crazy, right? And again, these trains we're talking about, which to me is Tartarian, right? A theatrical masking of historical trauma. Consider the psychological effect on the public. They are shown powerful machines smashing into each other. There is unaliving, smoke, fire and collapse, all in the name of entertainment. The trauma is externalized but not questioned. This mirrors what may have already happened behind the scenes. The destruction of Tartarian cities, the burning of inherited architecture and the erasure of historical memory. The train crashes become a symbolic repetition of this grand reset, a performance that numbs the population to catastrophe. Just as the World Fairs concealed loss with parades and lights, the train crashes disguise collapse with spectacle, right? Controlled chaos, public submission. Why would the architects of the New World, those who potentially orchestrated the erasure of Tartaria, stage something like this? Because symbols matter, or symbolism matters, right? In occult and esoteric traditions, ritual destruction is often used to initiate a new order. The audience becomes complicit witnesses in that collapse. They watch it, they clap, they accept it, they become part of the ritual. It is programming by performance. A global metaphor in steel and fire. The timing of the crash at Crush, the one in Texas, 1896, is significant. It occurred just 3 years after the 1893 Chicago World's Fair, which many believe showcased and then destroyed major Tartarian structures. Yeah? As the White City burned and the Eiffel Tower stood alone among dismantled palaces, the message was clear. Yeah? The old world is gone and the new world rules by industry, not by energy. Yeah? It's ruled by industry, corporations, yeah? By smoke and not by light. Yeah? The train crashes were the soundtrack to the erasure, the smoke signal of conquest. Final thought on these train crashes, yeah? Was it all a ritual farewell? If the Tartarian age ended with a reset, whether by war, mud flood, or design, then the spectacles we see in these fairs may have been ritual closures. The train collisions were not just about speed or steel. They were about symbolism. They represented 1. The clash of civilizations. 2. The unaliving of natural harmony. 3. The ascendancy of controlled chaos, right? In that collision of iron giants, something ancient was buried, perhaps for the last time, or perhaps just long enough for us to begin asking questions again. Out here was so quiet. As soon as I start going live now, you got all this life and movement. Anyway, let's go forward. I don't have to post no clips on TikTok no more, but I still will. I won't just abandon TikTok now that we're uploading lives on YouTube. But so what I'm saying is, when I post this clip, I'll use the noise reduction to take out any of that background noise, right? Were the fairs a way to divide the Tartarian world? As we peel back the layers of these grand international exhibitions, a troubling question emerges. Were the World Fairs simply events to entertain the masses, or a global operation to divide the remains of a lost civilization? The deeper you go, the more the pattern reveals itself. Display, document, divide, destroy. Yeah? These were not isolated, harmless cultural events. They may have been stages for a quiet conquest, where the artifacts, knowledge, technologies, and even spiritual systems of Tartaria were systematically divided among rising global powers. Let me pull this closer so then that noise in the background may be less distracting, yeah? Because it's distracting me, so I can imagine it may be distracting you guys. So let me pull this closer, right? yeah, yeah, they may have been stages for a quiet conquest where the artifacts, knowledge, technologies, and even spiritual systems of Tartaria were systematically divided among rising global powers, while the population remained mesmerized by light shows, architecture, and promises of progress. Yeah, display a final public glimpse. Each fair, World Fair, acted as a curated theatre, giving the world a glimpse of Tartarian architecture and energy under new management. Structures believed to be inherited from Tartaria were paraded as modern achievements or temporary constructs. So stuff that they found in Tartaria, they're using these world fairs to tell you, oh, we invented this, we created this, and it's just for amusement, it's just for show. And then they got rid of it, smashed it down after. So these world fairs were a way for them, they're curated theatre events for them to just bury Tartaria, right? In a ritualistic sense. From the grand domes of the Chicago White City, 1893, to the intricate Greco-Roman, because they're not Greco-Roman, they put that name on that architecture. Oh, this is Roman architecture. Oh, this is Greco. No, it's not. You understand? It's Tartarian. It's older than Roman and stuff. I don't even think the Romans built all the stuff that they say the Romans built. And bearing in mind, the Romans were very, they're very industrious type of people. But I don't believe all the stuff they said about that the Romans built, it was built by Romans. They're just using it as an excuse. They'll go in America and say this Greco-Roman architecture. Greco-Romans don't got nothing to do with America. Even in India and stuff, they'll say, oh, this is Greco-Roman architecture. Get out of here, man. It's got nothing to do with no Greco-Roman, right? But anyway, that's what they call it. Greco-Roman halls of St. Louis, 1904. These buildings stood as living fossils, possibly far older than claimed. For a few months, the public wandered unknowingly through cities of the past, rebranded and disguised. Once the curtain fell, most were demolished. Yeah, most of these buildings and this stuff that they're showing you in the world fairs, they demolished it. Yeah, the message: you've seen it, now forget it. That's the message. Okay, we've shown you it, now forget it. It's a ritual, right? Document, cataloging the inheritance. While the public was entertained, the elites, bankers, royals, scientists, secret societies were likely cataloging and documenting everything, right? Where's all this traffic come from? I don't know where it's come from, right? Blueprints and schematics were quietly taken and archived. Artifacts, tools were collected and sent to private collections like the Smithsonian Institute. Y'all know about the Smithsonian Institute, right? That's a notorious institution for getting rid of the evidence. Any giants or whatever they find, they taking that straight to the Smithsonian Institute, and you bound to never see that again. That's what they've been doing. That's what the Smithsonian Institute stands for, right? Hold on. Where was I? Yeah. So while the public was entertained, the elite bankers, royal scientists, secret societies were likely cataloguing and documenting everything. Blueprints and schematics were quickly taken and archived. Artifacts and tools were collected and sent to places like the Smithsonian Institution, private collections, and new museums. Indigenous wisdom, meaning our wisdom, melanated wisdom, right? Often dismissed publicly, was studied, recorded, and hidden, yeah? Spiritual systems, yeah? Related to energy, healing, and cosmology were dissected and absorbed into esoteric schools like Rosicrucians and Freemasons. They keep all this knowledge for themselves. They don't want you to have it. They tell you about Mary, Jesus, and Joseph, go to church. They're keeping your sacred knowledge, right? It's no coincidence that Freemasonry, Rosicrucianism, Jesuits, and the Theosophical Society all experienced a surge in membership, influence, and funding during this exact era. This is not a coincidence, right? They were the new stewards of the old world's secrets, and they're still guarding these secrets today, right? Divide, the global cover-up. Behind closed doors, it's believed that patents, land claims, ancient maps, and technologies were distributed among powerful nations and elite families. This was a global auction disguised as some type of festival, yeah? The Rothschilds and Rockefellers, two of the big names in these 13 bloodlines. Rockefellers, America. Rothschilds, Europe. These are the two big names in them 13 bloodlines, yeah? The Rothschilds and Rockefellers began consolidating banks, yeah? World banks, yeah? Federal reserves, all that type of shit. Energy cartels. and education, public education, right? The Vatican received ancient spiritual texts, we know about the Vatican archives, and relics, deepening its esoteric vaults. So these vaults in the Vatican, these secret chambers where they're hiding all these texts, imagine, are 6 miles long. Imagine 6 miles long of stolen texts from all around the world, everything. And it's not just text, neither, like books and stuff. There's all type of esoteric stuff that they stored there in the Vatican, the same way they did in the Library of Alexandria. Alchemical texts, yeah, magic texts, all type of stuff, yeah. Colonial empires expanded into regions where Tartarian remnants were still visible. So we're talking India, North Africa, the Pacific, North America. That's all Tartarian, right? Even cities like Washington, D.C., as I told you, that White House and Capitol Hill, they never built that shit there. That was there since Moctezuma and stuff. He's got engravings with him in front and the White House and stuff behind him. This is way before them man came and built up anything. Come on. But they telling you they just went over there and within 2 years they built it and built all of these cities like Chicago and stuff. Nah, nigga, they found them shits, right? And that's why they use the word founded. This building was founded in, they found it in that year, right? Also, Paris and Rome saw sudden bursts of monumental architecture aligned with Tartarian geometrics. Not no Greco-Roman stuff, right? Suggesting that pieces of the puzzle were being transplanted into new global power centers. Just like they take the obelisk out of Egypt and put one in Washington and put one in London and put one in Paris. They start taking this stuff and putting it in their own cities and stuff, right? Destroy, erase what couldn't be controlled. After documentation and division came destruction. What couldn't be hidden, transported or rebranded was systematically smashed up, destroyed, yeah? 1. Fires broke out in exposition buildings across Chicago, Paris and San Francisco. 2. Whole pavilions were bulldozed and buried, yeah? Records were lost and alternative historians were silenced, yeah? Orphan children, we spoke about these orphan trains, we're going to get back into that again. Orphan children, possibly descendants of Tartaria, some of them were sent on orphan trains to new regions to repopulate new empty cities, yeah, severing their cultural memory. This wasn't vandalism, it was ritual erasure. It's more than vandalism. Vandalism is just mashing someone up, someone come and mash up my car or something, that's vandalism. This is ritual erasure. This is bigger than vandalism, do you understand? Leaving no trace of what once was. The rise of institutions that support this theory is telling that during and shortly after these fairs, several institutions gained momentum again. The Smithsonian Institution. Go and do a research of the Smithsonian Institute and how much stuff they've found that's just gone missing once it reached the Smithsonian Institute, right? And especially, you know, in America, the mounds and the mound builders, when they open the mounds and find like our people that are 13 foot, 14 foot and stuff, giants, yeah? They send them to the Smithsonian Institute and it disappears. You're never going to hear about it again. You're never going to see it again. That's their job, to get rid of the evidence, right? Although they promote themselves like some type of institute which is displaying world history. No, it's not. It's hiding the real world history, right? So the Smithsonian Institute was founded in 1846 and it's linked to disappearing artifacts and skeletons, you see? The British Museum, which I've been like umpteen times, yeah, and the Louvre in Paris. Am I pronouncing that right? The Louvre, you know what I'm talking about, with that little glass pyramid and shit, yeah, expanded rapidly with controversial acquisitions, meaning stolen goods from mine and your ancestors or from Tartaria, right? World banks and international finance system. This is the trap which has put us into debt slavery, into financial slavery. All of us are living in a form of financial slavery today. Yeah, so world banks and international finance systems, fiat currency, fake money, there's numbers on a computer screen that don't even really exist, yeah, rose during the same time, seizing land, resources and archives. The Jesuits, that's another case study for you. The Jesuits, Adam Weishaupt, who was an ex-Jesuit, was the one who founded the Illuminati, because the Illuminati goes back to ancient times, but he brought it back into our world with the founding of what's called the Bavarian Illuminati. But make note, He was a Jesuit. He was an ex-Jesuit. The Jesuit is called the Society of Jesus. Do a study on the Jesuits. They are very important in what we're dealing with here and in how the world is working today. Yeah, they're like the army of the Pope. Yeah, I think the Black Pope is the leader of the Jesuits, if I'm right. The Jesuit education system played a role in rewriting historical narratives in textbooks worldwide. Masonic lodges and occult orders began incorporating lost knowledge into their rituals and symbolism. Together, these institutions may have functioned as gatekeepers of the Tartarian legacy, guarding the secrets for the benefit of the few, while the rest of humanity was taught a sanitized version of history along with Christianity, Islam, Judaism. They dumbed us down and kept all of the real stuff for themselves, for these elite bloodlines and secret occult societies and stuff, right? Final thought. A civilization divided, not lost. It's divided, it's not lost, yeah? Tartaria may not have been lost in its entirety, but divided, fragmented, and stored behind doors we are not allowed to open, yeah? The world fairs weren't just events. They were covert operations dressed in gold leaf and marble columns, yeah? What looked like celebration was actually conquest. What looked like unity was actually partition. And what looked like the dawn of a new age was actually the burial of the old world, yeah? Are we ready to reclaim what was taken? Are you ready to reclaim what was taken? I am. I'm fed up of this, yeah? Are we ready to reclaim what was taken? Or will we remain applauding the show, never knowing what lay behind the curtain? I should have went out back, you know, because out here, I don't know what's going on, but it's just noisy out here. The timeline gap and forgotten cities. One of the most compelling clues pointing to a lost civilization, perhaps Tartaria itself, is not found in what we know, but in what we don't know, right? The architecture of the 18th and 19th centuries reveals a jarring discontinuity, a break in style, skill and sophistication that conventional history struggles to explain. We spoke about this. When we look at the old world, the buildings are so beautiful. They're not just built for function. Like today, our buildings are just built for function. You're going to live in this house. Here's a box with a window in it, and this is your house. We call it flat, we call it council estates, whatever, right? But when you look at the 18th and 19th century, there seems like there was a break. All of a sudden, all of this beautiful, intricate architecture just stopped, just all of a sudden. And then it just switched to this boring, what I call stucco block building that we're living in now. Everything looks the same, everything looks boring, like it's not built for beauty no more. It's only built for function, yeah? That break is sudden. When you look at 18th and 19th century architecture, on a certain day it just stopped. And now we've got all of these boring buildings that when we go around our city centres and towns and look at the stuff that's built today, it's got nothing on what was built yesterday. They can build a house in like a week. These new builds, and you knock the wall's hollow, you can hear through the wall like people on the other side and stuff. They putting this in this cheap architecture. It's not the same as in the 18th and 19th century, so it just stopped, yeah? Before the mid-1800s, we see immense stone buildings, cathedrals, monasteries, post offices, train stations, libraries, and civic halls built with mathematical precision, geometric beauty, and perfect symmetry, along with the intricate details, yeah? Then almost overnight, the world's architecture shifts to what's called utilitarian, uninspired, it looks uninspiring, industrial structures of brick and steel and glass, yeah? The grandeur disappears, yeah? Nothing's as big as it used to be. And it's like, oh wow, look at this church here. Oh wow, look at this. You understand? All of that stopped. Now we just got this boring stuff going up, yeah? Replaced by functionality. It's only for you to live in, that's it. It's not for beauty, it's not going to wow you or nothing. It's just for people to live in. That's called functionality. It's only built for functionality, yeah? But why did they forget? Because remember, they lost a lot of stuff when this Tartaria empire got buried. So is it a case that, yo, we can't even build like that in stone no more? They don't know how to do that. That's a Tartarian thing. That's why if you look at how they build now, it looks nothing like how we used to build in the 18th and 19th century. Bearing in mind, we're supposed to be, in terms of progress, we're supposed to be way further back primitive in the 18th and 19th century, according to the historical timeline, than we are now. So how come now we're not building more beautiful, more massive, more intricate buildings than that was around in the 18 and 1900s? And them buildings in the 18 and 1900s are still standing now, they're still functional. Most of the buildings we have that are built in the modern world, give it 100 years, it's done. Yeah, health and safety, you can't live in here no more. It don't last as long. Do you understand what I'm saying? So to me, that says, yo, they can't build that no more. That's a lost technology. It's a lost art, right? Was there a reset that wiped out the original builders, the original masons, not Freemasons, the original masons, us, the ones who built everything on all the continents, right? Were the ornate buildings inherited, yeah, not constructed by the societies that followed, right? So here's what I'm talking about. This is how we build today. Yes, salam. Wait, you good? And so look at that compared to this. Look at the intricate detail that goes into this church here. All of that, remember, that had to be, someone had to do that. They had to carve that building to look this beautiful, right? And nowadays we just get this. It's just for functionality. There's no art to it or no like intricate details. Come past, man. Yeah, you're good. It's open. Yeah. You all good, yeah?
That's really good.
Alhamdulillah, I'm good, man. Yeah, so a sudden drop in architectural complicity, right? History books tell us that the 1800s marked a time of innovation and expansion, right? That's what our history books tells us. Yet many cities appear to have suddenly downgraded their building capacity. Again, I'll show you again just so it sticks in your brain. What? That's nothing to celebrate. That's just for functionality. Everybody house look the same. Nobody house look different from nobody else. Yeah, Naji. Yeah. And so when you look at this cathedral here, look at the detail on that, man. That's stone, guys. So I think we've forgotten how to build like that, and that's why we're in this situation today where everything is just built purely for functionality. There's no beauty in the artwork, in the architecture or nothing no more. Do you get me? Yeah. So hold on. Yet many cities appear to have suddenly downgraded their building capacity. Yeah. Massive stone structures from earlier decades were soon followed by crude, repetitive brick buildings. Decorative domes, towers and spires were replaced with rectangular boxes, yeah? The Industrial Revolution is credited for progress, but visually, the cities became bland and soulless. If I walk down my street now, I'm depressed when I think about ancient Kemet, how beautiful. Imagine waking up in ancient Kemet. I'm talking about when it was fresh, when the paint was on there, the different colors and everything was bright. Imagine how beautiful that looked. Or where you go to somewhere like where the Olmecs base themselves, Tres Sobotes, La Venta. Imagine how beautiful these places, and they're open. It's like we live outside. We're not locked in these boxes that we're calling houses and flats and estates. You understand what I'm saying? We're outside. We outside. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. Open air stuff and that. Yeah. Cities and that. I mean. Yeah. The Industrial Revolution is credited for progress. But visually, the cities became bland and soulless, yeah? So it weren't no industrial revolution. You should change it to the industrial devolution, right? This drop suggests that something fundamental changed, but not just technology, but who was building and why, right? Y'all with me, yeah? So here again, look at this. Look at the detail on this. We can't build nothing like that today. They're lying to you, yeah? Why don't your government build one of these today then? Why don't they say, oh, we're building a new church and build this? Because they can't build it. They never built them. These buildings, that any of these that we see still standing is something that was kept from Tartary. It's not something that they can build today. They can't build that. Do you understand? And then, so this is how it looks, how our stuff looks today, right? Or is that with the windows? Yeah, look, there's windows that are below street level. So that says that was a Tartarian building that they just repurposed it after the mud flood. Look, there's windows half buried at ground level. Nobody builds like that. It don't make no logical sense to build any building like that, right? Architectural anomalies around the world. The buildings that did survive the transition bear mysterious features that mainstream history rarely addresses, yeah? Buried lower floors and windows underground. All over the world, you probably see this in your city. If you go in your city, if you live in a major city, anywhere around the world, yeah, buildings have entire floors submerged beneath modern street level. Windows peek out from the ground, and what appear to be basements have arched doors and decorative facades designed to be seen. It's not designed to be half buried in the floor. When you see the detail, when you go further down, you say, hold on. Who would do all this detail just to hide it underneath ground level? It don't make no sense. You understand what I'm saying? In Boston, any of you guys here from Boston? Yeah, is it Massachusetts? Boston, Massachusetts? Anybody here in America from Boston, Massachusetts? You got loads of these buildings in Boston, yeah? Entire neighborhoods have sunken entrances and sealed lower windows. If anyone is here from Boston, put in the comments and confirm what I'm saying. Is anybody here from Russia, St. Petersburg or Moscow? Them two cities feature lavish palaces with subterranean ballrooms, ballrooms underground, and libraries underground, yeah? Bucharest, yeah, and Budapest, yeah, show signs of grand structures half sunk into earth or mud. Could these be remnants of a mud flood event where cities were partially buried and simply built upon rather than excavated, right? No records of construction. Many buildings from early 1800s or even the late 1700s lack detailed blueprints, building logs, or funding records. This is unusual considering the complexity and cost of such projects, yeah? There must be some type of blueprint or some type of builder's logs which show when they were built and who built them or who funded this building. None of that exists, yeah? This is unusual considering the complexity and cost of such projects, yeah? Some official records even conflict with visual evidence, claiming buildings were made of wood when surviving structures are clearly stone and steel, right? Global examples of forgotten architecture. This architectural mystery isn't limited to Europe or North America. It's all around the world. Around the world we find examples of buildings that seem older than the history that's given to them, often with unknown origin or misplaced context, yeah? Havana, Cuba, right? Where my great-grandmother is from. Havana, Cuba, lavish mansions and cathedrals with buried steps and ornate columns. Buenos Aires, Argentina, grand neoclassical government buildings that outclass modern development. Cairo, Egypt, yeah, structures with star-fort geometry and unexplained subterranean chambers. Durban, South Africa, Edwardian or Victorian as they call them buildings in cities that barely had settlers at the time of the supposed construction. Yeah, Sydney and Melbourne, even in Australia, even in China and Japan, yeah, Sydney and Melbourne, Australia, 1800s architecture that rivals London, built before major industry arrived. How did they do it? These cities may hold the silent ruins of Tartary, standing as ghosts of a forgotten empire, repurposed and renamed by the reset powers of the 19th century. Does this make sense to you guys, right? A reset hidden in plain sight. Many alternative historians now believe that there was a great architectural inheritance, not a linear evolution, right? What we call Victorian or Brooks art or Moorish, even Moorish revival, may actually be Tartarian built by a previous civilization with advanced knowledge of vibration, frequency, sacred geometry, and material alchemy. Remember I was saying some of these buildings were grown, they were not built. They were grown using a form of alchemy where you can have, you can manipulate certain elements, wood, metal, stone. I'm being serious because remember what I said, all of this thing, everything has consciousness. So if you can tune into the consciousness, you can manipulate certain things, right? These buildings weren't just designed for beauty, they were resonant structures. They resonated at a certain frequency, right? Attuned to the Earth's energy grid, built with copper, quartz, and harmonics in mind. After the mud flood, after the Great Wars, these buildings were either buried, leaving only their upper levels exposed, rebranded, claimed by a new power structure, or simply demolished, yeah, when their true purpose couldn't be explained or controlled. Final thought on this, yeah? Cities of echoes. Walk through the old quarters of any major city that you guys are in, yeah? And you'll sense it, an aura of lost greatness, yeah? Something was lost, they're not telling us something. Look closely at the facades, the proportions, the buried steps, the unreachable windows, and ask yourself, were these cities built by those who claim them, or inherited by people who had no idea what they truly were? The timeline gap is not just a mystery. It may be the key to uncovering the greatest architectural and civilizational deception of all time. So now we're on chapter 3, the children of the reset, orphan trains, and the erasure of Tartary. Remember I said we're gonna go straight back to these orphan children and these orphan trains, yeah? You ready? Let's dance, let's jump in. I'll go through some of your comments soon. I'll stop every now and then and see if there's anything that adds to our discussion or a question or whatever, right? One of the most chilling aspects of the mud flood reset is the mysterious mass relocation of children during the mid to late 19th century, officially labelled as a humanitarian effort. Yeah, the Orphan Train movement, which was from 1854 till 1929, saw over 250,000 children being shipped across the United States, Canada, Mexico, and even Australia. But beneath the surface of this seemingly benevolent initiative lies a disturbing question. Who were these children, and why were there so many of them? Look, here's a picture of an orphan train again. Look, who are they? Where are they from, man? 250,000 and that's a whole city worth of children. And we're just talking America alone, yeah? This movement coincides perfectly with the supposed mud flood reset of the early 1800s, when entire cities and civilizations were buried under layers of mud. The sheer scale of displaced children and the mysterious gaps in urban populations and the sudden disappearance of Tartarian history suggest that these children were not mere orphans. They were the last survivors of a lost civilization. Let me show you again. So it's, well, go on, Ben, so it sticks in your head. That's not normal, guys. And the way they explain it in history, that's not satisfactory for me. Everything they tell us about humanitarian effort and that's not enough for me, and it shouldn't be enough for you either, right? And that's why we need to give this to our children, because they will go further with this than us. They're the ones who have to go to school and still listen to this bullshit official history. If we give them the power and put a battery in their back, they can challenge this shit that they're hearing in schools and stuff. Do you understand? Universities, colleges and that. Our time's done, it's their time. Our job is to empower them. That's what I'm doing with these books. It's really for the children, right? And those who stay young at heart. The numbers that don't add up. The unprecedented scale of orphan relocations. Over 250,000 children were relocated between 1854 and 1929. Yeah, that's right on the cusp of when Tartary fell, and then one generation after, like I said, is the 1920s, when they bring out public education, and now they're programming everyone with this new narrative, right? In the peak years, 30,000 to 50,000 children were moved annually, yeah? Children were placed in rural areas, often without proper documentation. Entire trains, each carrying 30 to 100 children, ran across the US and Canada, right? Suspicious orphan ratios in major cities. During the mid-19th century, major cities in the US and Europe recorded an unusual surge in abandoned children. Remember what we spoke about from my book, when I was saying that, when we was talking about the Crystal Palaces and the Cabbage Patch Children, and how they were using Tartarian technology to grow these babies, but they were using it wrong. They were like, where you should take 6 months, they just put 2 weeks, yeah? So they were neglecting this stuff. So the first crop of these Cabbage Patch Children, or incubator babies, they were faulty. They're faulty technology. So they start chipping out and going mad and stuff. So now they have to make all these madhouses to shove people in, right? So if there's 250,000 children, that's 500,000 parents, because they need 2 parents, right? So 500,000 parents, nobody's talking about, where are these parents, right? A lot of them are in madhouses. A lot of them were buried under the mud, all type of stuff. But that explains what's going on more than what they're telling us in their history books. That's his story. That's not our story, right? Okay. Suspicious orphan train ratios in major cities, right? During the mid-19th century, major cities in the US and Europe recorded an unusual surge in abandoned children. New York City, 1860s to 1880s, that's just 20 years, 1860s to 1880s, estimated 30,000 to 40,000 orphans lived in overcrowded shelters. The movies like Annie, Oliver Twist, all of these movies are reflective of that period. You notice how most of them children in them kind of movies is orphans, right? Boston, Chicago and Philadelphia, 1870s to 1890s, another 20-year period. Orphan populations mysteriously tripled within a few decades. St. Louis, Missouri, 1880s, over 10,000 orphans recorded in a single census, despite no large-scale war or no famine. Where did they come from? Do you understand what I'm saying? And so, like I said, it's not what we see in history that should disturb us. It's the lack of an explanation should disturb us even more. Okay, how come nobody's explaining? That should disturb you even more than what you see. It's what you don't see or what you don't hear. The lack of explanations and stuff, right? London, Paris, Berlin, 1850s to 1870s, another 20-year period. Unusually high numbers of abandoned children appeared, paralleling the American trend over the waters, right? That's not a coincidence. What caused this massive orphan crisis? As I said, there's no major war in that time according to official history, and there's no major famine of that time according to official history. So how do you get 250,000 orphans in America and Canada alone? It don't make no sense. Do you understand? What caused this massive orphan crisis? Why were so many children without known parents, without birth records or past history? The orphan trains, a hidden population replacement. Here again, you can see one of the orphan trains, look. So you should look into this for yourself. Don't believe anything I'm showing you here. Make sure you go and look at this for yourself and put it in your own mental court of law where you are the judge, right? The orphan train movement was led by elite-backed organizations such as the Children Aid Society, which is CAS, yeah? Founded in 1853. You should be writing these down so you can research them for yourself. Don't just listen to stuff and accept anything anyone's saying, even me. Make sure you write stuff down that you're ignorant about so that you can not be ignorant about it. Go in your own time and go and have a look at it, right? So the Children's Aid Society, CAS, founded in 1853. Look, 1850, that number again. 1850s, 1853, it just keeps popping up. The same time Tartary disappeared, right? The New York Foundling Hospital, because these clone babies, they're called foundlings, yeah? These Cabbage Patch, yeah? And these incubator kids, they use the word foundling. So they used to have what's called foundling hospitals, right? In all these major cities, London, New York, Paris, all over the shop, right? So the New York Foundling Hospital, 1869, yeah? The Catholic Charities and Protestant Missions, had a hand in moving around loads of these children. And we already know how these Catholics and stuff roll with the PDF files and stuff, right? So imagine how much of that was going on in these times. You understand what I'm saying? Officially, these groups claim they were relocating poor, abandoned children from overcrowded cities to rural farmlands. Do you believe that? I don't believe that. However, deeper analysis raises several alarming connections to the mud flood reset. Key anomalies of the orphan train. So let's look at some of these anomalies that show that what they're telling us is bollocks, yeah? 1. No real orphan crisis preceding the movement. The orphan train movement began in 1854, yet there was no major war, as we said, or disaster immediately before this surge. What caused this surge in orphans, yeah? If it was war, disease, or poverty that created so many orphans, why did this crisis peak precisely after the mud flood theory suggests Tartaria was wiped out, yeah? 2. Lack of birth records and identities. Many of these children had no documented birth certificates, right? Many were not true orphans. They simply had no traceable parents or family history. Many children couldn't recall their own past before being placed on these trains. 3. Forced name changes and identity erasure. Like Roots, your name's not Kunta Kinte, your name is John. They renaming people and stuff, yeah? So forced name changes and identity erasure. Most children had their original names erased and were given new surnames upon arrival at their destinations, yeah? There were no legal adoption processes, meaning the children became anonymous within a single generation. Entire waves of new Americans were created with no knowledge of their ancestry or origin. These are Cabbage Patch children, incubator babies, and the remnants of Tartaria who had lost their mothers and fathers under the mud, right? These children were deliberately sent away from major cities and placed in isolated rural areas where they wouldn't interact with those who might recognize Tartarian culture, right? They were not kept together. Siblings were often separated to prevent collective memory of their origins. This is evil. This is of the devil. Do you understand? 5. Ties to the elite and the rewriting of history. Yeah, at the Carnegie Institute, Rockefeller and Rothschild's family played a role in funding institutions like the Carnegie Institution that facilitated these relocations. Many children were placed in Catholic boarding schools, right? Protestant missions or state-controlled orphanages where they were indoctrinated with new historical narratives. You see, like how they did to them Native Americans. They put a lot of the children in them boarding schools. They just put them in boarding schools and stuff like that. Y'all know, yeah, I got Americans here, right? Could these organizations have been a part of a larger agenda to erase an entire civilization's history, ties to the elites and the rewriting of history? Throughout the 19th and early 20th centuries, powerful elite families, including the Carnegies, the Rockefellers, and the Rothschilds, played a direct role in funding institutions that controlled orphan relocations, foundling hospitals, and adoption programs. These institutions systematically relocated, reprogrammed, and erased the identities of thousands, right? If not millions of children. But why? Why would there be a need for anybody to do that, right? If they're not trying to hide something, right? Was this simply philanthropy, or was there a deeper agenda? If Tartary truly existed and its population was erased in a global reset event, brackets, such as the mud flood, close brackets, then what happened to the surviving children? This section will explore documented involvement of elite families in orphan relocation programs, the role of Catholic boarding schools, Protestant missions, and orphanages in reshaping history, and evidence that these organizations were part of a larger plan to erase an entire civilization's histories. Let me look at some of you guys' contributions and I'll come back to the book, right? Right, if anybody chatting shit, I'm just going to block you without responding, right? Because I ain't got time. Right, let's see who's cooking here. Let me get rid. I've already got rid of 2 people, so watch what you say. Because I not play, right? If you're not here to learn and contribute to the discussion, I'm blocking you straight away. Go elsewhere. Hold on. Shout out to Creative Madwoman who just reached fan level 2 in my fan club. Shout out to all the super fans. Shout out to all the people in my fan club. I appreciate you. Mike says history is a lie. Yeah, we know that. Like, history is his story. So it's a lie for us. It's not a lie for them. Everything they say about caveman and Neanderthal, that's their history. Yeah, it's theirs. They've put it on us. Yeah, and now they're putting their history on you, and they're trying to take your history. So it's not a lie. It's a lie when it's applied to us. Do you understand what I'm saying? Royal News TV says black people have no reason to dislike Hitler because he didn't. Why are you talking about that though? Unalive any black man in the Holocaust. I'll allow it, yeah. I'll indulge you, right? Anika, shout out to Anika, man. That's another one of Jedefre's angels. She sent me a crown. I'm sure them crowns are 299 coins. So y'all need to take a leaf out of her book, yeah? Shout out to Anika. Shout out to Sihong, she doing her thing in the background. Shout out to Natasha, I know she's right with me on this. Anything else? Royal News TV say it doesn't trace back. And he says, I'm sorry chat, but this is the truth. Listen, we're not sorry for the truth. We don't apologize for truth, right? It's the truth, man. And look, John 8:32 says, know the truth, and the truth will make you free, right? Yes, more, the word more from morenos or marus in the Latin, and then when you go to the Romance languages or like Spanish and stuff, it becomes morenos, and that moros in English today becomes Maurice, the name Maurice, and in all of them different languages it means black. You're correct. That's to Royal News TV. My wee hometown had them buildings. So I'm sure this is Jaguar Grant, yeah? So you're Scottish, yeah? Is that Jaguar? The same Jaguar, yeah? Yeah, man. We are from the whole planet. That's a very important thing to say to people, because they got us here arguing about who's American, who's African, who's FBA, who's Caribbean, who's Black British. But the earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof, and we are the children of Elohim, according to Psalms 82:6. So that means the whole planet is ours. So you shouldn't trade, you shouldn't tell yourself you're just native to one specific part of the planet. Yes, in a sense we are, but that doesn't mean we're not indigenous to the entire planet. So you shouldn't use nationality to separate our family. We are a global presence. We are a global people. We don't belong to no one land, whether it's America, whether it's Africa, that's just bullshit. We need to get away from that. So shout out to Royal News TV for reminding us that we are the whole planet. What is that? You hear that? I swear Lucifer is trying to mash me up today, you know. But he not have no power, he not have no victory. Hold on. Shout out to San Jamo. Yeah, I see you, right? No, it does. Everybody melanated is not from Africa, no. Yeah, listen to this. Yeah, you have 7 continents that we know now. Science tells us that these continents were combined into one supercontinent. That looking back, they refer to it as Pangaea. Yeah, we were seeded on the earth when the earth was one, not when there was America, Africa, Europe, Asia. We was already here when the earth was like this. So we were put on this supercontinent. So when it splits, we're already on every continent. Do you understand that? So we need to get away from this stuff about all black people come from Africa. And at that time, Africa wasn't even called Africa. That was a name that was put on that continent. So therefore, we're not Africans. Africa is a new invention. And this is no disrespect to any African that's here. All them names, Nigeria, Ghana, the borders, the name Africa, that was put on that continent. Just like the name America was put on that continent. So no, we're not all from Africa. We're from Earth. You understand that? And anybody who says otherwise is ignorant of what we're talking about here. Because only a fool would argue. Why do you think they're setting fires themselves? The government, you mean? You mean now, like with these forest fires and stuff? I have no idea, Jaguar. I suspect it's for a number of reasons, but I don't think it's them setting fires. If you read Revelation chapter 20, verse 9, God warns that in the last days fire is going to come out of heaven. A lot of people interpret that as raw, like proper fire, like a flamethrower coming out the sky. I interpret that as the sun. The sun is fire. So now you can see 5,000 of these, man, are wiped out across Europe, right? 5,000 of them have lost their lives across Europe because of the heat wave, because of the sun. So if you go to Revelation 20 verse 9, I've been telling people this, that time's going to come with this solar cycle where the sun just starts being racist and starts wiping folk out. So we're in that time now. So I don't think the government is starting fires. The government's having an emergency Cobra meeting now in the UK about this. Right? So it don't make no sense that they're starting fires and then calling an emergency Cobra meeting, because that costs money. People have to be paid. Do you understand what I'm saying? Yeah. So I don't think they're setting fire to nothing. I think the Most High, Mother Nature and Father Time is setting fire to their shit and wiping them out. Yeah. And that also, it's not a black and white thing neither. If you as a melanated people are vibrating in that frequency, you're a goner too. You ain't going to survive this. But if you're a Muzungu person, yeah, and your vibration is high and you're a proper human being, the Most High ain't gonna get rid of you just because you ain't got melanin. He gonna protect you too. So stay away from that racism stuff, yeah, because it's used to distract us from the bigger points. Do you understand what I'm saying? That's for Jaguar, right? Send you the Tartarian buildings from Scotland. Yeah, man, send me them in the DM. Keep it secret. There are bigger pyramids under Egypt. Where? Can you show me where they are? This is Royal TV News, because I'm not one of them people who just make claims without being able to show the receipts of them. That's a pretty big claim. So if you can show me a pyramid in Kemet that's bigger than the Great Pyramid and show me the exact coordinates of where it is, I'll be happy to have a look at it. But I don't really just go off what people say. I'm somebody who writes books and I have to verify what I say, meaning you have to verify what you're saying. This is not a place for you to just make claims and not be able to back up what you're saying, right? But that's true, Royal News TV, because it was built by frequency, not mathematics. Yo, where is that music coming from? Is it coming from above me or what? Can y'all hear that? Is that disturbing you? Because if it is, I'll move. I'll go in my room, right? Mike says, I believe you, sir. Please do not believe me. I am not starting a religion. I'm not a pastor. I'm not an imam. I'm not a rabbi. Yeah? I don't deal with beliefs. Beliefs is for religious people. know the truth, and the truth will make you free. That's what it says in John 8:32. It doesn't say believe in the truth and the belief is going to make you free. No, knowing is different than believing. Leave beliefs for Christians and Muslims and people who want to be in religion, yeah? And also, don't believe me. Please do not believe me. Please go and know it for yourself. Do the research so you can know it for yourself. It's a big difference between knowing and believing, to the point where if you know something, you don't got to believe. You don't have to have faith. All of that is for people who don't know anything. Christianity don't know nothing. That's why it just believes. Islam don't know nothing. That's why it just believes. You can't know something and believe something at the same time. It's either you know it or you don't know it, so you have to believe this or not believe this. Do you understand what I'm saying? That word is a false word. Be lie Eve. Be lying to Eve's seed. Yeah, Genesis 3, read from verse 1 to verse 16, and it might make more sense as to what I'm saying, right? Yeah, we don't believe nothing over here without investigation, without knowing it for ourselves. Once we know it, yeah, we don't have to believe no more. If we don't know, then we're forced to believe or not believe, if that makes sense. But I'm not looking for agreement. I'm giving truth, and truth don't seek agreement. The truth is just the truth. So please don't just believe me and think, oh yeah, I believe you, and I'm going to say, yo, great. Yeah, because I'm going to tell you, no. Don't believe me. Go and do and know it for yourself, right? No, and I'm not getting at anyone when I'm saying this. Like, I'm not getting at Royal News TV or none of that stuff. I'm just stating how it is, yeah? So please don't take offense as to what I know. Sometimes I can talk pretty forceful and stuff, right? Please don't take offense. The Ethiopian Bible is not more accurate, bro. That's just cap. Yeah, it's a Bible, which means it's a Christian thing. I am not a Christian. You need to go take that Ethiopian Bible and read it on your page and start a church or something. Yeah. Yeah, let me go back to this book, yeah. Guys, is this disturbing you? Let me scroll back to the bottom. Is that noise in the background disturbing you? It's disturbing me. I might just go inside. Somebody put in the comments if it's okay to continue here, or if I should go inside where it's a bit more quiet, because out here is okay. It's okay, yeah. All right, no problem. Right, let's continue, yeah. I'll address some more comments in a bit if there's anything more, yeah. Okay, brilliant. Natasha says it's not that bad, yeah. And then Regina Johnson says go inside. Empress Queen says go inside. So it's 2-2. Let the next one wins. Let's see what the next person says. Shall I go inside or shall I stay out here? Come on, somebody throw it up. Either or. Let's keep it cooking. Go inside. Miss Aisha says, go inside. I'm going inside, guys, yeah? Hold on 1 minute. Let me take this up first. What can I take up one time? I can take this book. I can take this. Yeah, because they playing all that stuff, man. I think they're having some type of... There's something going on. I think it's the Prophet Muhammad's birthday. They have a certain sect of Muslims. They celebrate his birthday. It's a bit weird, yeah. Because it's not Islamic to celebrate the Prophet's birthday. That's like shirk. Yeah, but they do. They got a certain sect. Yeah, this is much better, man. I can't fucking... Sorry about the language. I can't cope with that stuff in the background, man. Doing my head in. Here is quiet. I'm going to get my stool and sit right here in the passage. Because if I go in the room, that shit's still going to leak through the window, man. Hold on 1 minute, yeah. Here we go, nice and quiet, yeah? This may be my new space for lives, you know, where I can just have peace and quiet, man. Why didn't I think of this before? Sorry guys, let me just drink some water and be back on it, yeah? Where's my cup? I forgot I got this big piece of sugar cane yesterday, yeah? You know, a long min and yam piece of sugar cane. Y'all eat sugar cane, yeah? Yo, this is getting beat up after. Yeah, but I have fun on this subject, this Tartary thing, reading from this book, man. I shout out the guy who wrote that book. It's a well-written book, you know? Okay, so I can use here for my cup. Right, that's done. You can still hear this thing outside, but it's nowhere near how as disturbing as it was. That was disturbing, guys. Yeah, where was I? Okay, 1. The elite-controlled orphan relocation programs, yeah? Carnegie, Rockefeller and Rothschild's foundations, the architect of the reset. By the mid-19th century, elite families took control of global education, medicine and orphan care systems, often under the guise of philanthropy. However, deeper research suggests these efforts may have been part of a larger population control strategy following the Tartarian reset. Andrew Carnegie, 1835 to 1919, the education reformer. In 1883, Carnegie founded the Carnegie Institution for Science, which financed eugenics research. You know what eugenics is, right, guys? And the Muzungu, that's their science, where they're trying to breed the defects out of them. Yeah, they're trying to take the defects out of them and make the perfect, like Hitler was doing with them man. Yeah, they were trying to breed the perfect race. Yeah, which is better than us, essentially. That's what it's about. They want to breed someone who can run faster than Usain Bolt, man that can beat up Mike Tyson. They would be the ultimate race. It's called eugenics. And what's that? Margaret, write down the word, Margaret Sanger. Family planning, eugenics, and do your own independent study of that, so I don't have to go off subject, right? Hold on. Yeah, Carnegie Institution for Science, yeah, which financed eugenics research, social engineering, and rewriting history, right? It funded public libraries in 47 states, 1886 till 1919. So that's libraries in 47 states. I'm sure there's 51 states, right? If you include Puerto Rico, right? 51 states or something like that. Correct me if I'm wrong. So 47 of them, these men have funded the libraries there to rewrite history, many of which contained revised historical texts omitting Tartaria from maps and books. The established Carnegie Endowment for International Peace in 1910, which influenced global education systems and controlled historical narratives. John D. Rockefeller, the infamous. We should all know a little bit about this guy. I shouldn't even say guy, I should say this demon, right? The philanthropic industrialist is what they call him. He founded the General Education Board, and I go deep into him in my book, COVID 1984, Agenda 2030, and I'll air him out, him and Carnegie, and how they changed the medicine to how it is now. Is crazy. But anyway, this Rockefeller demon, founded the General Education Board in 1903, yeah? Later merged into the Rockefeller Foundation, which funded history textbooks, schools, and orphanages. 1909, Rockefeller Foundation began funding psychological studies on orphans, right? Which later influenced MK Ultra experiments in the 1950s. 1913, established the Rockefeller Foundation to finance public health, like I just told you about, yeah, orphan care, and mental hygiene programs, many of which involved identity suppression of foundlings. Now let's switch to the Rothschilds, because the Rockefellers is in the Americas, the Rothschilds is in Europe. The Rothschilds, banking dynasty, the silent architects of power, right? Hold on. The silent architects of power, right? These Rothschilds, financed major educational institutions, including Oxford and Harvard, ensuring rewritten history became academic truth. They controlled major publishing houses in the 19th century, which removed Tartary from books, and not only books, from maps and from encyclopedias. And they funded European foundling hospitals and orphan asylums in France, Austria, and Germany, where children's identities were erased or reassigned. Why would these families be involved in orphan control? Think about it, yeah? If Tartary was wiped out and its survivors reprogrammed, these elite families would have a vested interest in ensuring the new population had no memory of their past. Orphans were the perfect candidates for indoctrination, as they had no family history to contradict the new narrative. By controlling education and public records, the elites could erase Tartaria from collective memory of humanity. By repopulating nations with displaced children, they could reshape societies according to their preferred structures. 2. Catholic boarding schools, Protestant missions, and orphan control. You see how deep this stuff is, guys? The Catholic Church's role in population reprogramming. The Catholic Church ran thousands of orphanages, boarding schools, and foundling hospitals across Europe and North America. These institutions served as centers for identity erasure and historical reprogramming. Key events and institutions. The New York Foundling Hospital, 1869, and it's still going, it's still around today, yeah? Founded by the Catholic Sisters of Charity to process thousands of abandoned babies with no records. They operated as a distribution center for the Orphan Trains, sending children to new families with changed names and false origins. And y'all know that Mother Teresa shit, she was in on this PDF stuff, trafficking stuff too. And that's, you see how much religion, how the role of religion in all of this. I should say the role of religious institutions in all of this. I'm not talking about religious people that are normally living, but I'm talking about the institutions, right? Yeah, the Native American, that's what I'm talking about. The Native American residential school system, where they shoved all them indigenous and Native Americans into these residential schools from 1870 to 1996. That was run by Catholic and Protestant churches in the US and Canada, where indigenous children were forced to abandon their language, their history, and their culture, right? Many of these children unalived under mysterious circumstances, possibly due to failed reprogramming efforts. They're tough, them indigenous. Some of them resisted, right? And unalived, right? French foundling hospitals, 1700s to the 1900s. Tens of thousands of nameless infants were sent to these facilities, given new names and raised under strict Catholic doctrine. Many were sent to priesthood training programs. We know what them priests do. PDF files, right? Many were sent to priesthood training programs where their origins were further obscured. Protestant missionary orphan program. While the Catholic Church handled a large portion of European and American orphan assimilation, Protestant missionary groups focused on global population transfers. The London Foundling Hospital, London. I got a picture in my Escape from the Chicken Farm of this shit when it was first established, yeah. The London Foundling Hospital, 1739 till 1954. Originally created by elite patrons like the Rothschilds and the Carnegies. This facility processed thousands of infants with no past records. China and India missionary orphan programs. You can see this is a global thing. It's not in one place. They reset the whole world. Today you call it the modern world, right? The modern world is built on lies, right? And falsehood, yeah? China and India missionary orphan programs, 1800s, yeah? Many children found by Protestant missionaries were shipped to America, Canada and Australia, where they were given new names and identities. Evangelical missionary movements in Africa and South America 1900s, these groups removed thousands of children from indigenous families, placing them in state-run orphanages. Yo, these devil out here is just making this shit louder, Dan. Can you hear that, guys? In here now? This is crazy. I know where I'm gonna go. I'm going in this other room, man. This is taking the piss. This is taking the living Michael. Let me go at the back, yeah? So I'm not hearing none of this shit, man, because this is crazy. Yo, I can still hear it here. What is going on? Hold on. Can you guys hear that? Is it still disturbing you? Right, China and India missionary orphan programs, 1800s. Many children found by Protestant missionaries were shipped to America, Canada and Australia, where they were given new names and identities. Evangelical missionary movements in Africa and South America, 1900s. These groups removed thousands of children from indigenous families, placing them in state-run orphanages, effectively erasing their original culture, right? 3. Evidence that this was an organized plan to erase history. If these institutions were simply humanitarian efforts, why do we see clear patterns of identity suppression, population relocation and rewritten history? So here it shows you like a chart. I'm going to read through it, yeah? This chart thing here. And it says, key dates and events that suggest a coordinated erasure of Tartaria. 1812 to 1820, the first mud flood theories suggest major global resets, impact, population displaced, orphan numbers rise. 1853, the Children's Aid Society is formed in New York City, impact, starts Orphan Train movement. 1854 to 1929, Orphan Trains relocate 250,000 children. The impact is many given new identities, possible Tartarian survivors, but we know there's some incubator babies and Cabbage Patch Children among them, right? 1870s to 1900s, indigenous residential schools expand for the indigenous autochthonous Americans and the Native Americans. They shove them in there, yeah? And the impact is children forced to forget their past, their language and their culture. 1903, Rockefeller's General Education Board is established. So public education as we know it today is established in 1903. The impact, they influence all the history books. They remove Tartaria from education. 1913 is when the Rockefeller Foundation was created. The impact is it begins funding public orphan care and ensuring that records are erased, yeah? Along with the others like the Carnegie Institute and the Smithsonian Institute and stuff, right? 1920s to 1930s, Catholic foundling hospitals expand in Europe. Tens of thousands of nameless babies are processed, yeah? 1940s to 50s, MK Ultra experiments begin, targeting orphans, yeah? Psychological programming begins. A lot of your actors and celebrities come out of this MK Ultra experiments, and a lot of them are orphans with fake backgrounds, yeah? Each of these events suggests a deliberate global effort to erase Tartaria and reprogram entire generations. Final thoughts, a planned erasure of civilization. The Carnegie, Rockefeller and Rothschild's families control the institutions that handled orphans, ensuring rewritten identities and lost history. 2. The Catholic Church, Protestant missionaries and orphan trains relocated and reprogrammed children to forget their real origins. Yep, you're right, it happens everywhere. What's that? Frosty Slothy, yeah? Even the UK, yes. London had a foundling hospital too. The removal of Tartaria from maps, books and schools suggests a deliberate, well-funded erasure of a lost civilization. The elites didn't just erase Tartaria, they absorbed its survivors, reprogrammed them, and built a new world order where Tartaria never existed. Right? So here again they're showing some of them orphans. Imagine how dreadful that period was if you were one of them children and you were living through that time. That's like a hell scenario. That's a nightmare scenario. Do you understand? And so much of them. Yeah? The hidden influence of orphans in shaping the new world from Tartaria to Hollywood and beyond. See, I told you these Hollywood stars, a lot of them, look, you're going to get into it. Throughout history, orphans have risen to incredible levels of influence, shaping entertainment, politics, science, and business in ways that few realize. From Hollywood actors to music legends, world leaders, and entrepreneurs, many of the most impactful figures were orphans, guys, raised outside of conventional family structures, right? But why does this pattern repeat? Could this connect to the Tartarian orphan theory? Were large-scale orphan relocations part of a massive societal reset? Did these orphan individuals serve as instruments for crafting the new world, a world shaped by specific narratives, controlled industries, and centralized power structures? This explores how Hollywood, music, and mass media became tools for reshaping society. So Hollywood is one of the best tools for them to reshape society. So now imagine, these orphans, you make some of them the stars. They're now the actors, your John Waynes, all of these people with the cowboy Indian type of stuff. Yo, we're going to use these. And I think these are the Cabbage Patch. They're not going to use like the survivors of Tartaria. I reckon these Cabbage Patch and Incubator babies, these stars that you see today that are losing their mind like Britney Spears and all of these, even going back to John Wayne and stuff, those are Incubator babies and Cabbage Patch Children. A lot of your politicians, a lot of your royals that they replaced the original royals with, these are Cabbage Patch people, man. Anyway, let me go back to the book, yeah. Did these orphan individuals serve as instruments for crafting the new world, a world shaped by specific narratives? Because Hollywood sells narratives, especially back then. They were selling you like these Wild West movies and stuff. They make you think a certain way about when the YT went to America and how America was just empty or primitive. You understand? They shaping the narratives, not just books and stuff. Hollywood is even more powerful, right? Music stars, yeah? With key figures, many of them orphans, steering the cultural narrative, right? Hollywood and the orphan influence, yeah? A manufactured dream world. Hollywood is more than just entertainment. It is a machine for cultural programming, shaping the beliefs, emotions, and values of billions, even now, right? Many of Hollywood's most iconic actors and entertainers were orphans, which begs the question, were these individuals chosen, shaped, and directed to fulfill a larger agenda? Here are 10 famous Hollywood actors, musicians, and entertainment icons who were orphans. Let's dance. Marilyn Monroe, bet you never knew that, yeah? June the 1st, 1926 to August the 5th, 1962. Raised in orphanages and foster care, Monroe was groomed by Hollywood to become one of its biggest stars, yeah? Was she used as a tool for cultural transformation, beauty standards, their YT beauty standards, and social engineering, right? 2. Ray Charles, who's a menelated like us, yeah? September 23, 1930 to June the 10th, 2004. As I said, this is not a race thing. This goes beyond race. You understand? Orphaned at 15, Charles revolutionized soul, blues, and jazz music, breaking racial barriers in American entertainment. Ella Fitzgerald. I'm not familiar with Ella Fitzgerald. Anyone here familiar with Ella Fitzgerald? April 25th to 1917. April 25th, 1917 to June 15th, 1996. She was sent to reform school after becoming orphaned. She later became the first lady of jazz, shaping the evolution of black music in America. Okay, so she's menelated. Ingrid Bergman, that rings a bell, but I can't put a face to that name. August 29th, 1915 to August 29th, 1982. So she was born on August 29th and unalived on August 29th. That's crazy. Orphaned by 13, she was handpicked by Hollywood to become a symbol of femininity and European elegance in American cinema, right? Babe Ruth, you know Babe Ruth, the baseball player? February the 6th, 1895 to August 16, 1948. Babe Ruth is like the Michael Jordan of baseball, right? That phone can wait. Raised in St. Mary's Industrial School for Boys, Ruth became the face of baseball and one of America's first modern sports celebrities. Steve Jobs of Apple. Oh my days. Number 6, Steve Jobs, yeah? February 24th, 1955 to October the 5th, 2011. He was given up for adoption. Jobs revolutionized revolutionized technology and media, creating Apple, the company that now controls digital communication worldwide. Yeah, I know Babe Ruth was black. Yeah. John Lennon from the Beatles, right? October 9th, 1940 to December the 8th, 1980. So that was 10 days before I was born. December the 8th, 1980. I was born on December the 18th, 1980. He, John Lennon, was raised by his aunt after his parents abandoned him. Lennon led the Beatles, reshaping global youth culture and music. I'm sure you're all familiar with John Lennon from the Beatles, right? You must be. Listen to this. This is going to shock you. You ready? In fact, let me get my water and make you ponder who I'm going to say next. Yeah, y'all ready, yeah? John Lennon wrote the song "Woman is the Ninja." Okay, I didn't know. I don't listen. I never really listened to John Lennon. So number 8 is Malcolm X. Malcolm X, yeah? May the 19th, 1925 till February the 21st, 1965. Father was unalived, yeah? When you watch that movie by Spike Lee, you see how the Ku Klux Klan come there and bun up his father and stuff, right? And make note that his father was one of the bodyguards for Marcus Garvey, right? So his mother institutionalized Malcolm X's upbringing, shaped his radical approach to racial justice, a role that transformed civil rights activism. This is social engineering. It's not saying he's evil or nothing. None of these people, I'm not saying they're evil. I'm saying they're being used. Some of them might be evil. Some of them might not be. And that's not me making an excuse just because Malcolm X's name come up. I should have said that at the start. It doesn't mean that these people are evil or something. When you think about social engineering, some of these people may be unaware of how they're being used. Yeah? But society is shaped. It's social engineering. We need more racism stuff or civil rights stuff. They're going to use these people. These people have got reach. They got influence. Do you understand? A lot of the time, they don't know how they're being used. Tupac, all of these type of people. Do you understand what I'm saying? So, like I said, it's not a race thing. This is a global reset involving all of us, right? Listen to this. Ice-T. Fucking heck, man. Yo, Ice-T, whose name is really Tracy Moreau. February 16th, yeah, 1958, and still alive. He was orphaned by 12. He went from gang life to pioneering gangster rap, or helping to pioneer gangster rap, helping shape hip-hop into a vehicle of rebellion and resistance, yeah? Is this making sense? Listen to this last one here. Listen to this, yeah? Jamie Foxx, December the 13th, 1967, until present, yes? Adopted by his grandmother, he became an Academy Award-winning actor and musician, influencing modern entertainment. Could these orphans have been selected, shaped and directed by larger forces to mold culture, global culture, pop culture, yeah, entertainment and social values? The answer for me is hell yes, right? Whether they knew it or not. Music and orphan influence. I never even knew all them people were orphans, you know. My God. The soundtrack of the new world, yeah? Music is one of the most powerful tools, I would say, mediums of influence. It can shape emotions, dictate trends, and even reprogram societal norms, and it can cross cultural barriers, language barriers, all of that shit. That's why I say it's a medium, right? Many of music's most impactful figures were orphans, suggesting that the entertainment industry repeatedly finds and elevates those who have been cut off from traditional family structures because they're more malleable. It's easier to control them. John Lennon, again, leader of the Beatles, the band that redefined global music and youth rebellion. Madonna lost her mother at 5 years old, became the queen of pop, redefining sexuality or looseness and music. Louis Armstrong, right? Raised in an orphanage, became one of the greatest jazz musicians. Seal, Henry, so Seal, kissed by your rose. You all know Seal, yeah? Baby, baby. My man who loved the white woman, then, yeah, him, see you, yeah. His real name is Henry Olusegun Samuel. Samuel's my name. That's my family to blood clot. Oh my, sorry about my language. Orphaned as a child, later became a Grammy-winning artist. Trent Reznor, yeah, I don't know who he is or she. Abandoned by his mother, he created 9 Inch Nails, revolutionizing industrial rock and anti-establishment themes. Did these orphan musicians help shape the very culture we live in today through carefully controlled entertainment programs? And it seems so. It does. Business, politics and social engineering, right? Orphans at the helm. So you see how deep this orphan train thing is now. It's not just a case of orphans on train repopulating cities. They've shaped our societies. Miss Aisha says, I'm a Samuels. Are you a Samuels, yeah? My grandmother, my father's mum on the Antigua side, right? She's a Samuel. She married into the Carr family, as to why you see Carr, yeah? My dad and them were born with the name Carr, but his mum was a Samuel. Do you understand that? So, yo, we family, yeah? Miss Aisha 01. Rotted. Me have to watch out. We may chat up on them thing, you know. Anyway, let's go on, yeah? Business, politics and social engineering. Orphans at the helm. The influence of orphaned individuals isn't just in entertainment. Many of the most powerful world leaders, businessmen and innovators were also orphans. You see how fast this orphan shit is? Yo, Dan. Government leaders, yeah? Andrew Jackson, the 7th US president, was orphaned in his teens. A fucking president, yeah? Later became one of the most controversial US leaders. If you don't know nothing about Andrew Jackson, the 7th US president, there's some homework for you right there. Nelson Mandela, orphaned young, became the leader of South Africa's anti-apartheid movement. I had no idea about that. Eleanor Roosevelt, orphaned at 10, became one of the most influential first ladies in history. Yeah, business and tech giants. Obviously, we've already spoke about Steve Jobs, Apple, so I'm not going to go back into him, yeah? Roman Abramovich. Do you know, anybody know Chelsea Football Club? That Russian billionaire who bought Chelsea Football Club and bought people like Didier Drogba and made Chelsea into this giant killer. Well, while he was, in them few years he was there, Chelsea won Champions League, Premiership stuff because of him, yeah? Roman Abramovich, the billionaire, right? Lost both parents at 4, became one of the world's richest men, yeah? Carl Benz, is that Benz and Mercedes-Benz? Inventor of the automobile, it must be, yeah? Because it says inventor of automobile in brackets. He lost his father young, later changed transportation forever with Mercedes-Benz, right? Why do so many global leaders and big business figures share this orphan background? Can you see how they built this modern world now? Half of these musicians, film stars, politicians, business guys, those are Cabbage Patch folk. Those are incubator babies. Do you understand what I'm saying? The Tartarian orphan connection, a systematic reset. The recurring theme of orphans shaping history raises important questions. It definitely does, right, guys? I'll look at some of your contributions in a minute. 1. Was there a deliberate effort to create a new world using orphans who could be shaped without traditional family values, yeah? They're malleable, they're easily shaped. They don't have no mum and dad and family to tell them otherwise, yeah? 2. Did the relocation of millions of orphans during the 19th century, brackets, orphan train movement, founding hospitals, close brackets, did that contribute to a global societal reset? Hell yeah. 3. Were these figures placed into positions of power and influence to drive cultural shifts? Could the rise of orphaned individuals in politics, business and entertainment be part of a carefully controlled social engineering program? I think we're onto something here. I should say I think he's onto something here, right? Final thoughts about these orphan things, yeah? Who really controls the future? Ask yourself, guys, put it in the comments. Who do you think controls the future, right? From Hollywood to politics, music to business, orphans have repeatedly shaped global society in ways that defy coincidence. I had no idea all them people were orphans. Remember, guys, this is the first time I'm reading this book with you, yeah? So I'm as fresh on this book as you are, right? And I had no idea all them people, especially some of the menelated ones, was Rossclaw orphans, Dan. I never knew, right? I was ignorant of this, man. This is why my forehead's like this, look. Like, yo. Hold on. God, hold on. Where was I? Yeah, from Hollywood to politics, music to business, orphans have repeatedly shaped global societies in ways that defy coincidence. We don't believe in no coincidence. The Tartarian orphan phenomenon, because it is a phenomenon, at the same time as an enigma, raises questions about how power is structured and who really shapes our world. Is the selection of orphans for high-level positions of influence intentional? I think it definitely is, and it's still going on now. They're handpicked for certain things. They look at the character, or this person's timid, or this person's got problems, like they do stuff like they got drug misuse, or they look for people, yo, we can use this person here. You understand? So they're handpicked, they're selected, right? Is the entertainment industry a controlled narrative run by those who never had traditional roots? Yes, it seems exactly like that. Was the destruction of Tartaria linked to a reset where orphans became the foundation of a new world? Yes, yeah. The evidence is there. The question is, are we ready to uncover the full truth? History isn't what we think it is. The architects of the new world may have been orphaned, but they were never truly lost, right? So let me see some of your contributions. So here you see them, the mass programming of these orphans. This is what created our modern world today. This is why we have certain narratives today that nobody can seem to see through, or nobody wants to ask no questions, because we've all been programmed with this rote learning, this thing we call education, which is not an education, it's edited dictation, it's programming, right? It's formatting, right? So here he's got all his sources at the bottom. So he's not just making this shit up, you see? He's put sources here. Yeah, so you could go further into these sources that he used if you want to. So that's a real writer. Anytime you see a writer putting sources, I put sources in my books for the stuff that I'm saying. If you're not putting sources, you're not really saying nothing. Do you understand? Because you're not allowing people to go and verify it away from you and make up their own mind, right? Where did these children go? They're in society now. They're all throughout society with us, man. But anyway, where did these children go and where did they come from? The next phase of the reset. By the time the Orphan Train movement ended in 1929, I'll come to your comments in a minute, an entire generation of children had been displaced, renamed and assimilated into a world that had erased Tartaria from existence. These children, stripped of their past, became the foundation of the New World Order, a society built on industrialization. Remember what I said, scarcity is built into the modern world, is part of the system. Famines and all that shit is not accidents, right? That's built in to the modern world. They have to have it, just like war, yeah? So a society built on industrialization, scarcity, and dependence on centralized systems, yeah? Not your own sovereignty. But what about the next generation? If the Orphan Train era ended, did the system of population control and memory suppression stop, or did it evolve? History suggests that it did not end. Instead, it was modernized, disguised, and adapted into new forms of social engineering, right? The next phase, the institutionalization of orphans, which happened from the 1930s when this public education worldwide came in, this system of public education, free. It's free. Public education, so people think it's good. Yo, let me just put my child in this. Yo, this school is free, public, and they just brainwashing your youth. Yeah? But look here, wanted homes for children. See that poster? Look. This is the type of shit that was going on February 25th, 1910. Right? Mad thing. Let's go further. The next phase, the institutionalization of orphans, 1930s to 1960s. As the orphan train system was phased out, the focus shifted from mass relocation to mass institutionalization. Rather than openly shipping children across the country, new systems were introduced to isolate, experiment on, and indoctrinate orphaned children. 1. The rise of state-controlled orphanages and boarding schools. Look at this. I think I showed you these already in another thing, but I got to show again. How much children do you think is in this picture? Put it in the comments. Do you think it's 1,000? Do you think it's like 500? Do you think it's more than 1,000? It's hard to tell, but that's a lot of children, man. Look at that. What, is that one school? That's taking the piss. And then look. hell? Yo, Dan. So all the stuff going on now with PDFs, imagine how much of it was going on here and stuff too. This is crazy. And you know, war, you got to understand, produces spare body parts, right? Orphans, yeah? So all these American bases and stuff, what do you think it's for? They are creating wars so they can, there's body parts, yeah, spare parts, donors and stuff, right? They're creating orphans. Let me just stop anyway, because I won't be able to share none of this live if I keep going on. Like, let me just read, yeah. With Tartarian survivors now integrated into society, orphan trains were no longer needed, just like the Crystal Palaces were no longer needed, right? Instead, state-run institutions became the primary way to control parentless children. Children were placed into large-scale orphanages. That's large scale right there, because to me there's over 1,000 children in that picture there, man. Because if I count here in the first row, like if we count how much of them are there, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So that's 10 right there. So here, if that's 10 right there, right? Hold on. Nah, it's about 200-300 children there. If that's 10 there, yeah, it's about 200-300 children in that picture there. But still, it's still a lot. Do you know what I'm saying? Anyway, let me go forward. Yeah, children were placed into large-scale orphanages, religious boarding schools, and psychiatric facilities. Yeah, seen it. I sent 200 comments to your live. Wow, 200 comments, Natasha. Shout out to you. Yeah, religious boarding schools and psychiatric facilities. So that's like a madhouse. They're sending children to madhouse, psychiatric facilities where they could be closely monitored and re-educated. The infamous Catholic founding hospitals, Protestant missions and government boarding schools continue to work of erasing past identities and conditioning the next generation. This period saw the forced assimilation of indigenous children in Canada, the US and Australia, a practice eerily similar to how orphan-trained children were disconnected from their past. So assimilation means you have to become American, modern American, or you have to become British. If you come here, you have to learn British values, you have to learn British history, you have to speak perfect Queen's English, so they literally making you into something that you're not. That's what assimilation means. Do you understand what I'm saying? Yeah, this period saw the forced assimilation of indigenous children in Canada, the US and Australia, a practice eerily similar to how orphan-trained children were disconnected from their past. Okay, 2. Experimentation on orphans, 1930s to 1950s, another 20-year periods. They love working in these 20-year periods, don't they? There must be a reason behind that. During World War II and the post-war years, countless orphans and institutionalized children were subjected to psychological and medical experiments under programs such as 1. MK Ultra, 1950s to 1970s, which is CIA mind control experiments often use orphans, foundlings and adopted children due to their lack of legal guardians, yeah, so they could just use them as guinea pigs, yeah. Nazi eugenics and twin studies, 1930s to 1945, like I told you, Margaret Sanger, write down the name Margaret Sandra, family planning, and go and do a study of Margaret Sanger and her eugenics program, right? And what she said about us as melanin people. Yeah, so that regime, you know who I'm talking about, Boydem from Germany, yeah, experimented on orphaned and displaced children, testing theories of genetic manipulation and memory suppression, yeah. I'm sure them man had a thing called the Gelen organization, and with Project Paperclip, when they moved all of them NAZIs over to America, they moved that whole Gelen organization over to America, and today you call it the CIA. They're the ones who were using the gas in the chambers and stuff to, right? Anyway, and we're not talking about the real Adolf, we're talking about the GMO. If you read my book, Black Europa, The Missing Keys, you'll understand there's 2 of my man. One's the real one who looks like us with melanated skin. And the one that they give you in history, that's a GMO. So you don't understand that my man was really one of us, yeah? And so he wasn't who they said that he was in history. They're using him as a scapegoat. But anyway, let's just continue with this, yeah, because it's a lot. Rockefeller-funded psychological research, 1940s to 1960s, another 20-year period, right? Many early psychology studies on child development were performed on orphans with a focus on conditioning and social engineering. We're going to get to these Cabbage Patch soon, so before I read into this, I'll stop and look through your comments. The baby scoop era, 1940s to 1970s. Okay, 30-year period. In the mid-20th century, thousands of unwed mothers were forced to give up their children for adoption. Are you guys aware of that? That if you was unmarried in the 1900s as a woman and you have a baby and stuff, they may come and take your baby off you and put your baby in one of them institutions, founding hospitals or whatever, right? Because they seen that as, you know how religion was a lot more dominant in them times. So you were frowned upon. If you're a woman and you've had sex outside of marriage and you're pregnant, you're frowned upon. They're snatching that you off you. Do you know how much women they took their babies from them just because they wasn't married, right? It's crazy. Thousands of unwed mothers were forced to give up their children for adoption, particularly in the US, Canada, and Australia, right? Many of these babies were given new names, new families, and no record of their true origins, right? Could this have been another step in erasing entire bloodlines? Of course it was. I'm sure they did that to a lot of us, yeah, melanin people, and ensuring that certain populations were kept in check. By the 1970s, this model was beginning to shift again. A new cultural phenomenon emerged that oddly mirrored real-world orphan assimilation programs, yet was disguised as a children's toy craze, which is the Cabbage Patch Kids. This brings us to one of the strangest mass-market psychological operations. It was a psyop of all time, the Cabbage Patch Kids. If you're anything like me, you used to watch this shit. I remember one, the black one, he was called Windy Winston. He kept farting. Yeah, I'm Windy Winston, and he farts and shit, man. We found it funny. I don't find it funny now. Look, they've got a melanated one in there, right, to show you it goes beyond race. There's a melanated one at the back. Look, Ross, this is crazy, man. The birth of the Cabbage Patch Kids, a mass adoption program in disguise. So let's pause there and let me have a look through your things, because then I can sip some water and that. You guys with it, yeah? Yeah, Miss Aisha 01, you see? Yeah, eye wide open now, because it is shocking. This is the tip of the iceberg, what we're touching here. But it is shocking. Yeah? I might need 3 or 4 more parts of this to get through this book. I'm committed to read the whole book with you guys, if you guys want to. Yeah, that Margaret Sanger, as Miss Aisha 01 says, she is the most evil type of woman. Make sure if you've never studied her before, you do a study of her. But not only her, look at eugenics as an independent study. What is eugenics? How is it used by these whiteys or in the modern world? Hitler and them. How does it link up to the concept of Darwinism, where they say the whitey people are the pinnacle of humanity, and racism and all, and especially family planning. If you notice, in our neighborhoods, we always have family planning. They're trying to keep our numbers down. They're telling you not to have babies, right? They don't have that in their own communities. They don't have family planning. That's part of their eugenics program, to keep you down and to raise them up. Do you understand what I'm saying? So yes, Margaret Sanger, but also eugenics and family planning as an independent study. And then you can put the parts together for yourself, right? Shout out to everybody sending gifts and tapping the screen. I know it's a lot, especially with what I'm talking about. More time you just want to sit and listen, but this helps us get this out to the people who need it. You understand? Because there's just like in this the audience here, there's loads of you who've never heard some of this stuff before. So imagine out there on the wider scale, how many people have never heard of this in this form. They may have heard some people saying some stuff, but they may have just dismissed it as he's a conspiracy theorist, or that's just a conspiracy theory. But when you hear it like this, it makes you have to, hold on, this ain't no conspiracy theory thing. This is too consistent. This is mad. Do you understand? I never even knew all these people were orphans. These Malcolm X's and shit like that. Nelson Mandela. I had no idea that this orphan train thing goes this deep. And look, I'm writing a book about Tartaria. I've been on the Tartarian subject since about 2019, when my friend first made me have to really look at all this Tartaria, flat earth type of shit. I had no idea. I've just come out of jail, building my TZT book company, I don't know nothing about no Tartary or no flat earth or none of that shit there. I dismiss all of that shit until it was one of my people who helps me with my research says, yo, son, you got to take this serious, man. Because he was taking it serious, I had to. Because I know his brain, when it comes to details and stuff, is better than mine. Mine, he can take apart a fucking clock and put it back together. He can take apart a TV and put it back together. I can't do shit like that. Meaning his brain works different than my brain. I respect people like that, where they can do shit I can't do. So he was one of my friends, like he can just, yo, anything to do with that kind of stuff, let me take this apart and put it. He can take a gun apart and put it back together. Do you understand? His brain is different. And when he told me, yo, this Tartary stuff, I seen his head, he's baffled. I'm thinking, hold on, you're taking this shit serious. When he left, I'm like, boy, I need to take this shit serious, man. Because if he's taking it serious, do you understand what I'm saying? That's in 2019. I never knew. I'm learning this shit now about how many of these guys were orphans and stuff. Do you understand what I'm saying? Rotted. So we need to get this out. So shout out to all the people who are helping me fill out the gift gallery. Let me see where we are. Not to change the subject, but I just want to see where I am. Because, you know, so we've got none out of 15 for the TZT hearts. I need roses. I'm sure I got one of them crowns already, but it says none out of 1. So we got none of the gift gallery is filled out. Y'all help me fill out this gift gallery. Even if, yeah, you don't give me that crown for 299, it don't matter. Send roses and that mafia heart thing, I'm sure that's 1 coin. It only costs 1 coin. I need 15 of them, guys. Y'all just filled out the roses 1 time just by me saying that. Y'all can do the same with that mafia thing. 0 out of 15. The other one I'm not too fussed about. I know it's 299 coins. Y'all might want to use your coins for something else, right? So I'm not going to tell you to send anything that you don't need to give me anything. But I would appreciate if we hit that gallery. So then I can know, okay, this is a subject that the people love. I need to come back to this over and over and over again until we've got through the whole book. Then we're in a better position, all of us, to talk about shit. You understand what I'm saying? It makes a difference, guys. You guys make a difference. It's not just me. If you think I make a difference, I'm telling you, you're tapping on the screen and you filling out that gift gallery and you hitting the heart me, that makes as much as a difference as me sitting here giving you this live. How about that? Shout out to everybody who's contributing. Let's dance. Where's the parents, says Maureen Boogie. Look, the parents, yeah, a lot of these children are the survivors of the mud flood or the wiping out of Tartaria. So if you wipe out Tartaria, there's a lot of orphans that are left back. Remember I said they were already experimenting on how do we best get rid of this Tartaria thing, because the wars are not working. They're actually winning the wars, yeah? So now they come with this, what we call in vaccination stuff, where they come out with these pestilences and they immunize themselves. They give themselves the vaccine before they let this thing off, right? And then they let this thing off. And cities are wiped out. Just like before, when I told you, if they cross over to America, just their germs, with the conquistadors and stuff, wipes out all the Aztecs. They give them smallpox blankets and stuff, wipe them out. Now we can just take shit. There's no resistance. The little resistance that's left, shout out to whoever did that. The little resistance that's left, yeah, they can just kick that over. Because there's no army, there's no resistance no more. Most of the people have got smallpox, they mash up, yeah? So they want you to think that they just went everywhere and kicked everybody's ass and you're weak and you can't defend yourself. That's not the case. They use germs. Today they call it germ warfare, biological warfare. It's the same thing they used on Tartaria. So remember, they were experimenting in St. Petersburg, Russia with these children in these same type of orphanages first. So they vaccinated them. Yo, save the babies because we can use them to repopulate. Wipe out all their mums and dads. Yeah, 250,000 youths. That's 500 adults. You need a mum and a dad. You need 2 parents, not 1. So if it's 250 youths, that means it's 500,000 rascal adults. They wiped them out. So this is where these children are coming from. And also the ones that they're making, these chimera babies, these Cabbage Patch babies, these incubator babies, right? They even got some hatching out of eggs. I couldn't find the picture. I swear I'm going to find it and show you guys these babies hatching out of eggs and shit, man, to see that. But anyway, let me find that another time. That's where their parents are at Maureen Boogie. Hold on. Yeah, shout out to everybody who just blessed up the gift gallery and sent what I asked for, yeah. Hold on. They just use abusers and normal kids in the same home and treat it one of the same and treat it. I don't know what you're trying to say there. Hold on. They just use. Right. Yeah, look, all Tartarians weren't good in it. Just like, let's say, the colonizers come to America or Africa. There's going to be people among our people who actually help them. Yeah, tribes may be fighting with each other and stuff, so they'll manipulate that. Oh, you fighting with that tribe there? Yo, help us get that tribe out of you. So that happened in West Africa. That happened in the Americas. It's not just a case of us fighting them. They infiltrate you, yeah, and they have certain ones of you where they send your own. Your own is giving them the secrets. Well, they're hiding here underground. They have this or underground. So yes, there's Tartarians who are evil too. They're not all good. Do you understand what I'm saying? Just like us now, all black people ain't good, or all white people ain't good. Yeah, you're always gonna have a cross contamination, especially where there's something to be gained. Like if they tell you, "Oh, we're gonna give you money, or we're gonna put you in power," or what? Of course, yeah. So that's to Team Game Changers, who says, "So are the Tartarian at war with us, as their world is divided, as a house divided shall not stand?" Of course, right? There's a lot of clowns that I just skip past, yeah, so you'll have to forgive me, guys. Because they're vulnerable and easily manipulated due to grief or longing. Yeah, that's Miss Aisha01. So think about it. If you got a child from a strong family and they got a strong father with a strong personality and a strong mother, and they got strong siblings or cousins or whatever, it's harder to manipulate that child there based on who's surrounding him than it is a child who's already gone through trauma. They feel lonely, they feel abandoned, they miss their mum and dad, they don't know what's going on. That's an easier child to control than that child that's coming from that strong family. Why do you think there's an attack on the family structure? Strong families make strong communities, make strong nations, make a strong world, right? So if they mash up the family, why do you think they've mashed up the family in the modern world? We don't build families no more. Family ain't even family no more. Blood ain't even thicker than water no more. Strangers are more like apt to support you and do more for you than your own family. Your family will come online and watch everything you do in silence. They'll only clap when other people start clapping. Like if I made $40 million tomorrow, all my family that just like to watch, just watch in silence. All the struggle I need to do behind here, and they just watch. But the moment you win, oh, you made 40 million. Yeah, that's my family, you know. So come on. Do you understand what I'm saying? Of course. Yeah. Sounds like they came through trafficking. That's exactly what it is. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say, and it's still going on now. Yeah, Ray Charles, Pablo Mali. I had no idea that this orphan thing was including like Malcolm X's, Ray Charles, who was it, Ella Fitzgerald. Yo, this and that's just, he just gave us a few. Imagine how much more of these guys, your Brad Pitts or whoever else that come out of this system, man. And so you see they're a bit weird anyway. They're not like us, these stars, man. You already see how they move and they look in their eyes and that. Now, hold on. You understand what I'm saying? Now the lid's been lifted for us to see. We should be scrutinizing all of these stars right now, all of them. Yeah? And looking at their background and everything. And of course, some of it, their shit will be fabricated, where there will be no trace for us to tell. But it seems like most of these people are selected. Not anybody can make it. I don't believe that. How any of us can just make it and become a millionaire in their world. Don't get me wrong. We can make it on ourselves and do well in our own endeavors. But if you're part of the system like Hollywood or the music industry and all this stuff, politics, I don't believe that's just accidental. I believe every one of those persons are selected, are picked to keep this illusion of the modern world perpetuating. Do you understand what I'm saying? So yeah, Ray Charles was a mad one for me, man. Not that I listen to him, but I'm aware of his importance to our culture. You understand what I'm saying? If you want to put it like that. Seal, yes, Natasha, Seal, you know, Kissed by a Rose. And look at him though. What are them marks on his face and stuff? Is it tribal? Yeah, he and all's a bit weird. Didn't recently he started talking about some shit like that he shouldn't have been talking about, right? And why is he not singing now? Why is he not still like top of the charts now? Did he do something? Did he fall out of favor? Did he start saying too much and shit like that? But Seal, yeah, that Kissed by a Rose song, that was one of my favorite shits as a youth, man. I love that song. I can't even lie. Yeah, they're easy to mold and manipulate. Seal, man. That's crazy. I'm reading Tartary, Full Hidden History Unlocked, should Weenie Noventa, and we're not nowhere in the book yet. Look, we're not even reached nowhere yet, man. You see what I'm saying? So we're going to need about 4, 5, maybe even 7, 8 more of these readings here to get through this book here. And I'm committed to doing it. I read through it. Y'all guys know I love reading, right? So it encourages you guys to read, and it encourages your intention span to be more also, because reading is like gym. The more you do it, the more your brain for reading grows. Now you can concentrate longer. Yeah. Why do you think they keep giving us this short form content? 1 minute the thing's done. Yo, let me scroll again, find another one, scroll. Everything's really short. So your attention span's all like fidgety now, because you can't just sit down. Like me speaking here, a lot of people can't sit down for this long and just focus on one thing. It's like me when I'm writing a book, to hold that focus, to see that book from start to finish takes a different type of hyper focus. They're trying to mash up our attention. Now you got loads of people, including adults, that have attention deficit disorder. They can't focus on nothing for too long, you know. Their attention's gone onto something else. They can't stay here, yeah? And that's why I say, once my lives get like 2 hours, I ease you guys up. Like, okay, I think now, even for people who are trained to watch, after 2 hours, people start losing concentration. Their attention goes. So I try and cut lives after 2 hours, maybe 2.5 hours, 3 hours. I'm pushing it. That's why I usually don't go. Before I used to do hours. Some of them were live. Some of them were 5 hours long. I don't do that no more, because people's attention span is gone. And you want them to pay attention, especially with what we read in here. We need to be paying attention of what we're seeing, yeah? So soon this live will end, because I'm sure we've been going for close to 2 hours now. I'll come back later, don't worry, because I'm having fun and y'all guys are helping me hit. If we get to 100,000 or over, then I'll come back again. If not, then okay, this is enough for you lot today, yeah? So it's down to you lot if you want me to come back later or not. Yeah, it explains a whole lot. This reading here, this class has been one of the best ones. Is this class 4, right? This has been one of the best ones on this subject so far, because of what we've covered and how far we've gone into this orphan stuff and that. It definitely has been, out of the 4 classes on this subject, this one here, especially if it reaches where it needs to reach. Aretha Franklin, Inhale Exhale, says, was she one as well? I don't know if she was one, but if you're saying she was one, where's my phone? Because I'll just Google it and see if she was an orphan. Let me have a look. If Aretha Franklin was one. Aretha Franklin. Orphan. No, she weren't one. Aretha Franklin was not an orphan. See what I'm saying? You have to verify what you say here, because I'm going to hold you to account. Yeah, if you're just saying stuff just to say stuff, I'm going to stop taking you serious. So that's at Inhale, Exhale, Joe 90. You said Aretha Franklin and said nothing else. Why have you put that? You understand? It don't make no sense. I am going to check. Right, I think... LMS says, I'm an 80s baby. Imagine. Me too. I'm born December 18th, 1980. I'm an 80s baby, yeah? Yo. I'm sure a few of us here are 80s babies, right? I know you're not supposed to ask a woman her age, so you guys don't have to say. But I'm just saying, I'm sure you know to yourself, like a lot of us are 80s babies, isn't it? Adult students and child students. Yeah. Let me just get back to this, yeah? Because on another dimensions, cannot remember, you can recover memories. It is hidden underground in Poland. Okay, that's Sarabi wants. That's why I think a lot of Poles or Polish and some others in Asia and America are who are in Asia and America and who knows where else. Okay, so you think they're like the remnants of Tartary and stuff, you're saying, right? Okay. JEWs, yeah, we know about that. Them Jebusites, right? Those institutions were the precursor of the social services, adoption and fostering agent services. That's a great point at Jane 89. Sarabi once says, I am recovering the memory of Tartaria. The whole world is. The world is waking up. Natalie's telling one of her nephews off, saying, yo, nephew is Auntie Nat, yeah? We do that in my family. Like, your nieces and nephews can't just call you by your name. They have to put uncle or auntie first. If you don't put uncle or auntie first, you might get boxed around your head, yeah? Discipline is everything, man. Let me get back to this, man. Let's what? 20 minutes and then I open up and we'll have a little discussion and we call it a day till later. I'm giving you guys time. We're at 70.3. I need this to be 100k if you want me to come back. Otherwise, I might as well just chill out and call it a day and call this my contribution to today. Yeah, so it's up to you lot. If you want a live to come back, get me over 100,000 likes so we can stick the middle finger up to TikTok, because they don't expect when they push your page down and push your traffic down. They don't expect you're gonna, the next live you come on, you're gonna hit 100k again and stuff. We need to make them see this is a problem, that I got you guys behind me and you guys are more powerful than whatever algorithm dirty tactics they're using. Do you understand? And I know it's a lot, but so is sitting here reading this to you guys and giving you my time. That's also a lot. Do you understand? So let's go into these Cabbage Patch a bit more now that we've spoken about these orphan babies, right? Or Orphan Train. The birth of the Cabbage Patch Kids, a mass adoption program in disguise. The Cabbage Patch Kids phenomenon exploded in the 1980s. Yo, I hope I'm not a Cabbage Patch. I'm joking, guys. Becoming one of the most successful toy franchises of all time. See, I never knew that, because you know how much toys did well. So if this was one of the most successful so you're telling me it's better, it's more successful than Transformers and He-Man and all that stuff. Wow, yeah. Becoming one of the most successful toy franchises of all time. But unlike other dolls, these were not manufactured, they were discovered and adopted, right? The official Cabbage Patch Kids backstory states, the babies were found growing in a cabbage patch. They were not born in hospitals or to parents, they simply appeared. They had to be adopted and each came with official adoption papers. That's crazy, I never knew. Look, here's a picture with one of them YTs with them. Look, what is this, man? This is crazy, because, yo, look, there's a melanated one in there for you guys, for you to see. It's not just whiteys, right? Basket, this is crazy. So, again, the babies were found growing in a cabbage patch, yeah? They were not born in hospitals or to parents. They simply appeared. They had to be adopted, and each came with official adoption papers, yeah? The Cabbage Patch Kids' twisted history. This strange narrative taps into deep subconscious fears and memories related to the Orphan Trains, 1854 to 1929, children appearing out of nowhere with no pass, found in hospitals, 1600s to 1900s, babies left anonymously at institutional doors on the doorstep, yeah? Forced adoptions of the baby scope era, 1940s to 1970s, infants stripped of birth records and renamed. But what if Cabbage Patch Kids were more than just toys? What if they were a subconscious reminder of a real and hidden historical event, the mass disappearance and reallocation of children throughout history? Theories about Cabbage Patch babies and their connection to orphan erasure. 1. The Cabbage Patch Kids as a symbol of the lost Tartarian children. The Cabbage Patch origin story eerily resembles the fate of Tartarian orphans, children with no past, no recorded birth and no parents. If the mud flood wiped out Tartaria and its survivors, how were new children born and integrated into society? Could Cabbage Patch babies symbolize the real children who were abandoned, repurposed and given new identities after the reset? The incubator babies, right? Now we're going deeper, guys. Coney Island and shit. I write about this in my book, Escape from the Chicken Farm, and go deep on it, man. What's that doctor's name again? It's gone out of my head anyway. Artificial womb technology. As you can see here, they're starting this up again in modern times. Women don't have to give birth no more. You can give birth in an artificial womb. You don't have to stop going work or anything like that. F Mother Nature. This artificial womb is the best thing going for... This is what they're trying to sell us now. It's the same Ross Clark thing. Yeah, they're bringing back this stuff. Artificial womb technology and the grown children theory. The strange imagery of babies growing in cabbage patches may not be a random metaphor. Could Tartaria have had advanced reproductive technology? Yes. Allowing for lab-grown or artificially incubated children? Yes. Could this technology have been rediscovered in secret and used for modern human farming experiment? Yes. This theory aligns with modern discussions of artificial wombs, cloning, and genetic manipulation, like this fella in the bottom. Yeah, let's keep going. This is going somewhere, man. I'm loving this. I'll show you some pictures soon. They'll probably have some in here anyway, of these Cabbage Patch folk. But I got some good ones. Mass adoption as a psychological conditioning tool. Cabbage Patch Kids were marketed as adoption dolls, not just toys. Why were children forced to sign adoption papers for a doll? Could this have been a way to normalize the mass adoption and relocation of real children throughout history, like desensitize them to it? Why do we only see white kids and not any other race? This is one of the most unsettling and overlooked questions in the entire Mudflood and Tartaria discussion. Where did the black people go? If Tartaria was a vast interconnected civilization that spanned continents, then surely black people who historically populated Africa, parts of Asia, and even pre-colonial America would have been part of this civilization. So why is it that when we look at the Orphan Train movement, foundling hospitals and post-mudflood societies, we mostly see images of white children? The absence of black or indigenous children in these records suggests that something much deeper was at play. Were they wiped out? Enslaved? Yeah, they told you, they put you as slaves and told you you come from Africa. A lot of them were wiped out, yeah, and a lot of them were relocated or deliberately erased from the new historical narrative. Let's break it down. Y'all ready? I think I should show you some cabbage patches first anyway. Let me show you these and let me try and find that egg thing. Yeah, where they're hatching these babies out of eggs and shit, man. Hold on. On my hard drive. Incubator. Hold on, not chicken farm babies. Chicken farm. Sure, I saved it under something called chicken farm. Yeah. Hold on. Oh, that's that giant. Why are they showing me giants? Okay. So I've showed you these before, yeah. So some of them might repeat, but we need to look at them. So here's one of them chicken farm incubators. It might be too bright so you can't see. Can you see the baby in there? Yeah, he's wrapped in wool and surrounded by hot water, or they put fire underneath the incubator. Let me try and find some clearer images. Hold on. So here you see these incubator babies and shit in these foundling hospitals and that, right? Hold on. There's one where they literally are hatching them out of the things. I'll show you the cabbage patch ones in a minute. Yeah, chicken farm hatchlings. Here we go. Look. You know, with the where they talk about the stork, the babies being delivered on by them birds. Yeah, look, these niggas is hatching out of eggs, man. Right? Hold on. There's another one where there's thousands of these niggas, or wiggers. So that's my book that I'm writing now, Escape from the Chicken Farm. Right, where I've wrote the 4 chapters from. You see that big wood log, that log cabin? Those were massive. None of them exist no more. And then on the back I got Hitler and the reptilians and all type of shit going on, yeah? But that's a cover art. I've made the cover art first. And I'm... Hold on, where's these... outside. Okay, you're trying to mess me up now, right? You don't want to load. You don't want to load. Hold on, let me get back out. Cabbage Patch, let me just show you some of them. In England, they changed the name from Cabbage Patch Kids to Garbage Pail Kids. In America, they kept the name Cabbage Patch Kids. But maybe too much people were catching on or something, so they started referring to them as Garbage Pail Kids. It's the same thing. Garbage Pail, it was really called Cabbage Patch Kids. That's what England did a lot in the 90s. They would change the name. Like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, they would take offense to the word ninja because it's to do with kicking and stuff. And so they'll change it to Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles. In America, it's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Over here, it's Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles. Over there, it's Cabbage Patch Kids. Over here, they change it to Garbage Pail Kids. Do you understand? That's how England works. Hold on. Not so much now, but back in the 90s, that's how they were moving. Right, here we go, Cabbage Patch folk. So these were postcards, and loads of them were going around in the 18th and 19th centuries. So as you can see, this is before them cartoons in the 80s about Cabbage Patch babies. So they didn't make that up with them cartoons. This was already going, these were the postcards, right? I've even got ones where you see them delivering the baby. See the sign there, the Cabbage Patch Children? Hold on. These are the people who wiped out Tartary. Let me tell you all who's on there, or you can see all who's on there yourself. It might be a bit blurry, so let me read it. Adam Weishaupt from the Bavarian Illuminati, Mayor Amschel Rothschilds, King George I is on the top row, right? Adam Weishaupt, Mayor Amschel Rothschilds in the middle, and then King George III, even though we know King George III did not look like that, right? Catherine the Great of Russia, yeah? Stanislav Czerniewicz, I don't know who he is. Sir Francis Dashwood, I have no idea who he is. Voltaire was around in the time of King Louis XIV. Him and King Louis XIV were very close. Voltaire, Benjamin Franklin from the Americas, right? And Pope Clement the 14th are the people who mash up to Tartary, right? Anyway, hold on. Yeah, where's that Cabbage Patch gardener? So look, again, man is watering them, right? I'll read what's underneath here. Yeah. A postcard showing a gardener tending to his crop of Cabbage Patch babies. A postcard showing a gardener tending to his crop of Cabbage Patch babies. What kind of shit is this? Yeah, and if it was just, why is there so many of them if it was just some type of like trick thing? There won't be so much of these things. Hold on, I had a better Cabbage Patch Kids. Where's that one, that big thing? And let me try and find Alice Guy for you guys as well. Cabbage Patch Gardener. Yeah, let me look at Alice Guy. I don't know what's on YouTube, but there must be something with her on there who's called Cabbage Patch Lady. And there's a video where she's actually going around picking out these Cabbage Patch Alice guy. Who was the, it says on YouTube, Alice Guy midwife to the upper class. Yeah, so I'm going to click on it and see if I can get up that, or Alice Guy Cabbage Patch. Let's go. Yeah, look at this shitty. This is what I'm talking about. Hold on, I'm going to show you some shit. Y'all ready, yeah? I want y'all to be tapping the screen right now because this is crazy. Look. Look, she put my man down. There's one where she picks up his deformed or something, she puts the nigga back. So now you know the name. Shout out to Natasha, she reminded me of what the name was, Alice Guy. So what is this? Do you really think this is entertainment? What is entertaining about this? Why would anyone find this as entertainment? Look, she picking the niggas. Look, she seen one there, she didn't want to pick him up. Why? Is he deformed or something? The Fairy of Cabbages. That was a short one, yeah? This one, hold on. So this one here, Lost Film, 1896. The Cabbage Patch Fairy Lost Film. So this is 43 minutes, this one here. Hold on. Is this someone in the comments here says, my great-grandpa came west on an orphan train. Yeah, in the comments of this. Yeah, look at this.
Our last video on repopulation postcards seemed to really strike a chord with many of you. We have already moved on and are preparing some new videos for you guys, but we were looking through the comments and we discovered some very interesting things about this rabbit hole that weren't really mentioned in the previous video. Many began having deep memories of the past. Comments mentioning how their grandparents were orphans. Grandparents speaking of coming from a cabbage patch.
See what I'm saying?
Stories of them having to work in mines.
How would you explain that, man?
Very interesting comments, and I highly suggest that you guys go check them out. And thank you for everyone who shared their thoughts. We see them all, and it truly assists us in our research. There are also many comments concerned with the legitimacy of these photos. How do we know that these postcards are even real? Yet, as referenced in the first video, there is a book on this subject, Babylon Surreal Babies. And on top of that, we will see further proof in this video that this indeed was what they were advertising in the early 1890s.
You see what I'm saying? Look, guys.
There was someone on the Discord claiming that we actually came in and photoshopped these postcards, which couldn't be further from the truth. Then we saw a comment that posted a link and a title, and it caught my interest. Come to find out that this rabbit hole gets even deeper. Yes, even deeper than the fact that they were literally shipping and delivering babies legally in 1913. And they would even put stamps on the children's clothing. Even crazier than that, supposedly, the world's first narrative film, the first real movie ever, is called La Fée aux Choux, or The Cabbage Patch Fairy, from 1896.
Do you guys think this is just a conspiracy still? Or do you think it's too consistent for it to just be some fancy conspiracy? She literally picking babies out of the cabbage patch, look. And resting them on the floor. What the hell is going on? And when you put this together with the postcards, orphan trains, incubator babies, how can all this just be some fantasy, some conspiracy? See what they're saying? Now they said gifting suspended and live visibility restricted because again, we have touched the nerve. Do you see what I'm saying? So let me stop showing that and just go to your comments. We've touched the nerve again. They don't want, if this was just bullshit, why would they restrict our visibility for showing it? Why wouldn't they just see it as, oh, these guys are like tinfoil hat wearing guys, and why would they do that? Do you understand what I'm saying? But if you show too much of this, it's like, bam, TikTok is like, yo, we're restricting your visibility. Nobody can gift. Y'all can't gift now. Yeah, the gifting is done. So just tap up the screen and let's finish, and let's put this live to bed, and we'll come back. Yeah, if we hit, we're at 83.9. If we hit 100 grand, I'll come back. But here and now, it's going to go into the melanated, right? And what they did to the indigenous. So let's read a bit into this. I'll give you guys a chance to move this to 100, yeah? Pre-mud flood Tartaria, a multiracial civilization. Pre-mud flood Tartaria was multiracial, like I say in my books. It's not just me, my man's saying it too, yeah? Before the mud flood cataclysm, Tartaria was described in old maps and texts as a vast empire covering Russia, Mongolia, parts of Europe, North America, and even reaching into Africa and Asia, right? Ancient maps depict Moors, black and Arab people in brackets, ruling in Europe, North Africa, and parts of Asia. Ethiopia, Mali, and other powerful African kingdoms were thriving at the same time Tartaria allegedly existed. And remember, the top of North Africa is called Barbary, yeah? And another name for Tartary is Barbary. It's Tartaria, or Great Tartary, or Barbary, yeah? The Barbary coast is the top of North Africa, Moors, right? Anyway, old images and artwork show black nobility in European courts, raising the question of whether there was a connection between them and Tartaria, right? But after the reset, history was rewritten to present a Eurocentric version of events. Remember, Isaiah 29:22, downplaying the presence and influence of melanated people. Post-mud flood, what happened to the melanated populations? After the mud flood, society had to be repopulated and reprogrammed under a new world order. The question is, why do we mostly see YT children in the Orphan Train movement and founding hospitals, as you can see here? Again, right? What happened to the melanated orphans and displaced survivors of Tartaria? 1. Enslavement and reclassification of black populations, meaning they telling you you are African and you came from Africa on a slave boat, right? Post-reset, black populations were either enslaved, relocated, or reclassified under colonial rule. 2. The transatlantic slave trade, which peaked in the 18th and 19th centuries, could have been a way to distribute melanated survivors across the world while erasing their true origins, because we know they didn't just take people from Africa like the narrative they tell it. They took people from America and dumped them in Africa, people from America and dumped them in Europe, people from Europe and dumped them in... They just mixed up the whole thing. You understand? So they were moving us all over the place, telling us we're just slaves, when imagine if we were Tartarians, or we're from Great Tartary and shit, man. You understand? Hold on. Yeah, in some cases, melanated people who were once rulers or free Tartarians may have been rebranded as newly discovered or primitive tribes. 4. The destruction of African kingdoms, such as the fall of the Mali Empire and Greater Zimbabwe, coincides with the time Tartaria disappeared from maps. What, Namaste, you good, yeah? Yeah. Did the rulers of the new system deliberately erase black people's history by forcing them into slavery and stripping them of their identity? It looks like the case to me, right? Hidden in plain sight, the Indian reclassification in the Americas. In the Americas, many melanated people and indigenous people were reclassified as Indians or freed men. Old census records show people marked as mulatto or Negro in one decade suddenly being classified as Indian in another. The presence of dark-skinned, straight-haired indigenous Americans suggests that black Tartarians may have been absorbed into surviving indigenous groups. Were some melanated survivors of Tartaria renamed and blended into indigenous communities to obscure their past? It seems like that is the case. The systematic destruction of melanated kingdoms and advanced civilizations. Another strange pattern emerges after the mud flood and Tartaria's erasure, the sudden collapse of powerful black civilizations worldwide. 1. The Mali Empire with Khan Mansa Musa and his brother Abu Bakari, West Africa, right, was thriving in the 1300s, but mysteriously fell apart by the 1600s. Yeah, the Kingdom of Congo, once a powerful African kingdom, was dismantled by European colonialists. Right. 3. The Moors, who ruled Spain for 700 years, were driven out in 1492, the same time Tartary starts disappearing from maps. The Olmec heads in Mexico depict African-featured rulers, yet mainstream history dismisses them. Were these civilizations once part of Tartaria, and were they destroyed as part of the reset? Why are there only YT children in Orphan Train photos? Were melanated children taken elsewhere? It's possible that melanated and indigenous orphan children were sent to different institutions separate from the YT orphans. Records of orphan trains mention children being sent to workhouses, labour farms, and even indentured servitude programs. Some reports suggest that dark-skinned children were sent to plantations in the Caribbean, that as well. A lot of Americans, they dump them in the Caribbean. So a lot of you talking about FBA don't make no sense, because that's some of your family in the Caribbean. That's some of your family in Africa and stuff. You may be on that ignorant COINTELPRO shit, where you think you don't got nothing to do with Africa, or you don't got nothing to do with Caribbean, simply because, as we all know, all of us didn't come from Africa and the slave ship. But that don't mean that some people in Africa can't still be your family, and certain people in the Caribbean, like Jamaica and stuff, them Yamasee Native American Indians, the Yamasee, the Yamacraw, the Creek Nations, they started dumping them in the Caribbean first, before anywhere. So you got family in the Caribbean if you're from the Americas, and if you're from the Caribbean, you got family in the Americas, and vice versa. So it don't make no sense, all of this FBA cult stuff, because it's a cult, right? Let me go on anyway. Yeah, some reports suggest that darker skinned children were sent to plantations in the Caribbean and South America under apprenticeship programs. Were melanated orphan children placed into a different system, one that erased their past even more effectively? Final thoughts. Was this part of the global reset? Guys, we're at 96.6, yeah? So it seems like you guys really want me to come back. I think we'll reach there, yeah? Shout out to all of you. Final thoughts. Was this part of the global reset? Before the mud flood, Tartaria and other advanced black civilizations thrived, but after the reset, their influence was erased. Let me just say, yeah, because they flashed us up and gave us that restriction, it's worth you guys looking at Alice Guy, the Cabbage Patch Fairy. Go and do your own independent study. I was just on YouTube. You can go on YouTube and watch that for yourself. It's 43 minutes. They flashed me up as soon as I was getting into it. But you can go and look at it yourself away from live. So you're not getting no flash. You're just there to do the research. Share it on your Facebook or with people in your circle or whatever. But get familiar with this shit. So when we come back to this, you're in an even more better position to take in what's in this book. You understand? Just before I forget. Yeah, before the mud flood, Tartary and other advanced black civilizations thrived, but after the reset, their influence was erased. Yeah, it's all of a sudden, melanated influence just stopped after this Tartaria disappeared, and all of a sudden now we're just slaves. Yeah, there's no coincidence to that. The transatlantic slave trade and colonial rule could have been methods to relocate and control the melanated survivors of Tartaria. 3. Many melanated populations were reclassified, absorbed into new ethnic categories like the Dawes laws when they rebranded people from Moors to Indian to African American to, they're just changing our name. You understand? But it started with the Dawes Act. Go and look at that for yourself, yeah? The Trail of Tears, go and look at that for yourself, right? Hold on. The Orphan Train movement only highlights YT children, suggesting that melanated orphans were handled completely differently or excluded from these records. Could the destruction of Tartaria and the mud flood have been part of a larger global effort to erase the true history of melanated civilizations? Is the lack of melanated representation in post-mud flood orphan records further evidence of the hidden history? What do you guys think? What else has been buried beneath the surface? The truth is resurfacing. Are we ready to reclaim it? So as you can see here. Right, let me wrap this up in a couple more pages, yeah? the connection between Native Americans, the Tartarian reset, and orphan trains. One of the most controversial and hidden aspects of history is the true identity of the original inhabitants of the Americas. Because you remember, out of everywhere in the world, America there's no history before 1492. They completely wiped that history. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, there's just no history before 1492. American history, America starts with 1492, where Columbus went there, he discovered this new land, and we don't know nothing about this land, yeah, before Columbus went there. They just literally just wiped the records, right? One of the most controversial and hidden aspects of history is the true identity of the original inhabitants of the Americas, the autochthonous, the indigenous. Many researchers and independent historians are now questioning whether the narrative we've been taught is incomplete or deliberately altered. Could the so-called Native Americans or autochthonous Americans we see today, I'd rather say Amaru Khan anyway, have been a replacement population after the Tartarian reset? Were the original Amaru Khans actually melanated or Moorish people? Yes. Yeah. How do the orphan trains fit into this grand historical cover-up? The pieces of this puzzle begin to form when we look at the timeline of depopulation, forced relocation, and mass adoption. Shout out to Sihon for sending 101 of them mafia hearts, yeah? Forced relocation and mass adoption programs that occurred in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, a period suspiciously aligned with the destruction of Tartaria and the emergence of the modern United States. Let's break it down. The pre-reset population of America, who were the first Indians, right? Before the arrival of Europeans, there were reports, maps, and historical records describing a vastly different population than the one we recognize today as Native Americans, who we know are Siberians, yeah? They're not Native Americans. Them people who they tell us is Native Americans today, they came later, mate. The real Native Americans look like me and you. They're melanated with woolly hair, right? European explorers like Christopher Columbus, or his real name Christophe Colon, and Hernan Cortez, and Amerigo Vespucci, all of them, and early French and Spanish settlers wrote of dark-skinned and copper-colored people in the Americas. The term Indian was originally used to describe a broad range of indigenous peoples, including what may have been a large population of black and Moorish people. Remember, when they used this word Indian, there was no country called India. The country called India today with the borders, that was made by the British after they went there and mashed up the place. And they drew the borders and said, that's India, and over here's Pakistan, and down here's Bangladesh, and here's the Punjab. All of that shit's new. So when they called these people in America Indians, they weren't referring to no East India or Pakistan. They were referring to the color, meaning indigo, which means inclining to black. They said they looked like Ethiopians. They used to even call certain parts Ethiopia in America or Negro land, right? So let's get this straight. No India survived in no 1492. There was no India. That came later in the 19th and 20th centuries, whatever it was. In 1400s, there's no place called India. So when they're telling you, yo, these Indians, they're talking about the color indigo, which is black, right? So it makes no sense saying, oh, I'm an Indian, I'm not black. The word Indian means black. What are you talking about? Go and look at the color indigo and tell me what you see, yeah? Hold on, let me go forward, yeah? Where was I? Yeah. Copper-colored people in the Americas. The term Indian was originally used to describe a broad range of indigenous peoples, including, yeah, black Moors or Moorish people, yeah. Old maps of America pre-1700s show names like Negro land and Ethiopia in areas that are now the United States and the Caribbean, right? Could the original inhabitants of North America and the Caribbean have been black Moorish Tartarians? The answer is a resounding to me, yes. The historical image of the feather-wearing Native American may have been crafted much later, replacing an earlier identity. If Tartaria was a global empire that included North America, its people could have been a mix of Moors, Asiatic peoples, and other advanced civilization, and that lines up with the Holy Tablets and Dr. York. Of course it was. After the mud flood and reset, those people were likely displaced, reclassified, or erased altogether, and then they photoshopped these YT people with their horse and buggy in all these pictures, which is really just empty cities. Yo, let's photoshop some people in there so it looks like people was there. Do you understand? We was there. They moved us and reclassified us, gave us new names, right? The orphan trains and the replacement of the melanated native population. Between 1854 and 1929, an estimated 250,000 to 500,000 children were relocated across America through the orphan train movement. These children were mostly from New York and other urban centers, and they were shipped off to farms and towns across the Midwest and Western states. I'll finish on the next page, right? But what was the real purpose of the orphan train program? If an entire population of people was removed, erased, or displaced during the reset, could the orphan train program have been designed to repopulate these new empty lands with a controlled group? Of course it was, yeah? Key clues that the orphan train program was part of the reset. Where were the children's parents? How do hundreds of thousands of children end up orphaned in such a short period? Were they taken from displaced or reset populations, possibly melanated Native Americans or other Tartarian survivors? So we'll finish on this page, yeah? So here it's showing you some more pictures of them orphan babies and that they used to refill these cities once they cleared us out of them, right? Why were the orphans mostly YT European children? Many of the orphan train children were of Irish, German, and Scandinavian descent. A stark contrast to the copper-colored people described in early American history. Could this have been an attempt to replace the original indigenous population with a new Europeanized one? Yeah. Where were these orphans placed? The orphan trains primarily sent children to the Midwest and Western United States, lands that were previously inhabited by indigenous people, right? Many of these children were adopted by settlers who were given land through programs like the Homestead Act. Could the orphan trains have served as a restocking program for repopulating areas that were wiped out during the reset? I think at this point it's quite obvious for us, right? The forced reclassification of black natives into freed slaves, right? One of the biggest historical manipulations of the post-reset world was the changing of identities. Many people who were originally classified as indigenous or autochthonous or Native American were later reclassified as Negro or freedmen after the Civil War. We'll leave it there and we'll come back later and deal with it. Let me go through a few of your comments, right? Shout out to everyone who helped with the live. We are 106.3k. I'll accept that. It means you definitely see me come back. What time is it now? 11. Hold on, that's not the right time. That's Antigua time still, that time there. So it's 4:30. So let's say between 6 and 7, somewhere around there, I'll come back on. Latest I'll come on at 8 again, yeah? Yeah, shout out to all the people joining the fan club and stuff, man. I will start doing some prizes again soon, but I got into a bit of a stick this month having to take my dog to the vets, so I still owe Natasha and Natalie books. So once I've got them sorted out, I'll do some more giveaways of books. What I'll do this time, I'll get the books first and have them here so I can show them, and it's just a quick thing, I can send them to people. But let me deal with them two first, and then I'll run another competition for those who join the fan club. That means you hit that orange heart me, and that means you're in the super fan club. The prizes are for you guys because you go that extra mile, and also for the people who have a subscription who actually subscribe, right? Because all wars need funding, and we are at war, right? And I'm using my own money to do all of this stuff here. I don't get monetized off TikTok, right? Because that's how they filter you. I'm scrolling up, right? Tartary, can you quickly get into that, King? What you mean? That's what we've just been talking about for the last 2-3 hours. That's at Miss Aisha01, yeah? I don't understand the question. Pablo R say, they are all demons. F the Rothschild. I like Pablo R. Yeah, I'm still blocking people who are asking some really like questions that don't got nothing to do with what we was talking about here. You're in the wrong club, bro. Donna Floyd says, yes, she a GA girl, yeah. Shout out to GA. I'm ready to learn something now, so I can hear you better. Okay, brilliant, Regina Johnson, yeah. Shout out to Sihon, she been going off, sending the gifts and stuff. And guys, remember, when you gift me or gift other people, that gives you points on your page, you know. That builds up your own algorithm on your own page. It's not just, when you're giving people gifts, it's not just for them. It's also for your page. I think there's 45 engagement points if you do all the things you're meant to do, like leave comments, send gifts, tap the screen, heart me. All that stuff builds your page up, not just mine. Your algorithm gets built up. I need you to understand that, right? Only reason I said it was I only just came across your page and I need to hear you, King. I hear you, Miss Aisha, man. If you continue to follow, you'll soon, this, because we do this regularly. Like the mafioso know how I roll. Like this is not new what I'm doing, yeah. And we do it with all type of subjects, from Anunnakis to Tartaria, from way back then, 6,000 years ago, to right now, all up into World War I and II and modern times. 17 book series. It starts 17,250,000 years ago, and we come right up to the now. As to now, you can see us getting closer to modern times and stuff. So if you explore my book series, it's on Amazon, yeah. All the books are available in paperback, hardcover, and Kindle, except for 2 books, which the algorithm said he can't have them books out. Both of them were about coronavirus, and you know, in that time they were just licking down everything, so they censored them 2 books that were pivoting around coronavirus. But go on Amazon, type in Jedefre Memnon, yeah. Even if you type in DJED, it should just come up, because nobody else has got that name, so the books just come up. If you have trouble, DM me and I'll send you a link with all the books on one link. Go and explore them, right? Because it's me talking, that's just one aspect. The pen is mightier than the sword. The pen means that this stuff can still be around 200 years after I'm gone. I'm still out here giving light to people and helping people. That's the mark of a true teacher. He's not just going to be on TikTok chatting shit. He's going to be writing books like these. Do you understand? So make sure all of you go and check that out. Also, the YouTube page. This live here will probably be on my YouTube tomorrow, so you could watch the whole thing again, right? Because there will be stuff that you forgot. There might be stuff that you want to revisit, references and stuff. Go on the YouTube at Memnon9 and follow the YouTube page, because this page might not last too long. As you can see, they're always giving us hurdles to try and stop us, but they can't stop what God bless, right? So shout out to you, Miss Aisha and Regina Johnson. I think I'm at the top now, am I? Yeah, so that's the end. Let me go back to the bottom just to make sure there's nothing fresh. Scroll real quick. And I'm gone. Yeah, Miss Aisha said, I'm sitting here with my son. He loves it here too. Yo, salute to your son, man. How old your son be? Or how young? How young your son be? Salute to you. Salute to Sahan. Salute to Natalie. Salute to Natasha. And salute to anybody who was out here and helping us get to where we needed to get. We definitely stuck 2 middle fingers up to TikTok. Yeah, and they're going to be vexed. But I'll leave them a couple hours and I'll come back, right? Yeah, but shout out to you and your son. Yes, the pen is power, so let's use the same tool. Let's do it. 17, shout out to your 17-year-old son, man. Shout out to Lees, is it Lees or Les? 1876, watching from Jamaica. Shout out, what part of Jamaica you watching from? My mother's born in Mandeville, Manchester, Paris. I'm from the Wint family on my Jamaican side. Arthur Wint, that's my great uncle. National hero business, you see me? So hold on. And Arthur Wint was like, he fled playing in World War, he won Olympics and win medal. He's a national hero in Jamaica. There's a street in London named after him because he became some consul or something in London. Oh, it's crazy, yeah? Well, yeah, that's my great uncle, my granddad's brother. Hold on. Would there be more invention if slavery didn't happen? I don't know, because slavery, one of the ways for you to get for your freedom was to invent something innovative that could improve life. So that's one of the ways where you could get your freedom. So a lot of the stuff invented was slaves who wanted their freedom. Yo, let me just invent this rascal light bulb or whatever, you get me? And you know how creative we are. So slavery actually added to the creativity, because it was a way for us to get our freedom. So a lot of the stuff that in the world that we benefit from, it was invented by us in slavery, because it was one of the only ways we could escape slavery. But they take the patents, so they don't attribute it to any of the slaves. That you couldn't like have a patent for what you invented, but they'd give you your freedom. They'll take your invention and told you Jack Daniels made this whiskey, or Kentucky Fried Chicken came up with this recipe for That was all us, man. Everything in the world good comes from us. Don't get it twisted. The only thing we didn't make, which they can have, was weapons of mass destruction, gun, nuclear weapon. That's them. You understand? Right. So that's for Amanda Senior, yeah? Yeah, peace to the gods and earths here, yeah? Listen, I'm gone, because I'm just going to do this all day, and y'all just going to keep adding to this shit, yeah? Meet me back here around 6 o'clock. Let's call it 6 o'clock English time, GMT time, and we'll go to like 8:30, and then we'll have a half an hour till 9 o'clock or something, yeah? Let's get through this book, man, because you can clearly see they don't want us to get to tackle this. And also, you guys make sure you go and look at Alice Guy, that Cabbage Patch Fairy, that 43-minute video for yourself, yeah? I'm going to watch it in the background myself just to see where it goes, yeah? And with that, we love you all. Meet me at the rendezvous, which is here, 6 o'clock, that's GMT, English people time, Mafia for life.